5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody, I'm Peter Ruttgazer and welcome to Atlantic University Sport Football right here on Eastlink Television. Folks, we are down to the championship game in AUS football as the 5-time defending champions, the St. Mary's Huskies, taking on the Acadia Axemen. This is the reason why players in this conference go through 2-a-day workouts in training camp, run wind sprints until they're completely exhausted, and lift weights until their muscles scream to get to this game. Now, I'm just tired talking about all that hard work. Let me introduce you to two people I'm never tired of, Dan Robertson and the coach John McNeil. And Dan, I'm going to start with you. Beginning of this season, you heard everybody say it's going to be St. Mary's Acadia in the final. It's going to be St. Mary's and Acadia in the final. It's St. Mary's Acadia in the final. No surprise here.
No surprise. I'm not sure if people expected it would work out this way. I mean, Acadia's played St. Mary's very tight this year, of course, winning here for the first time since '97 in Week 8. So I think it's safe to say this is the most highly anticipated conference championship game in recent memory, maybe back to 1998.
And, Coach, you saw these two teams play in Week 8. Acadia walked in here, upset St. Mary's. Does that game mean anything going into this contest here today?
It certainly does. It means that they know they're over that hurdle. Can we beat them? They know they can. However, it does perhaps take a little bit of surprise away in that St. Mary's will be well prepared. It's not a case where you might sneak up on them because you've never beaten them before, and especially never at Husky Stadium. So that's gone. But I think it is to Acadia's benefit.
Okay, let's introduce a person who needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyways. A man who knows everything there is to know about Atlantic University sport football. From the Chronicle Herald, Amani Mosher. Amani, you got to help me out with something here. I'm kind of confused. There seems to be two St. Mary's teams. There's that A team and a B team. Now, the A team, they go out and they blow the doors off the opposition, and the B team, they get confused for a couple of quarters and end up losing games. Which team are we going to see here this afternoon?
I think Blake Nill would like to know that. And I'm not sure they have blown the doors off too many games this year. Look, they've got today, I believe they've got today to define their whole season, that if they don't come out and play well today, people will remember this team as a team that underachieved. Yes, they're younger. Yes, they've had changes in the coaching staff, but they're the top dogs. They're supposed to win this football game. If they don't, that's what people are going to remember, that the team that had a chance to go back for the fourth time never lived up to the previous three.
And Monty, looking at it, Blake Nill, I spoke with him about a week and a half ago, and he said that in the second half of that Acadia game, it was the first spark that he saw in his team on the sidelines all year, which is kind of scary. You know, it was the final week of the season, but that's something that's been missing this year, but they'll need that today.
I think we talked about leadership earlier in the season different times, and leadership is something that you hope develops over the course of training camp into the season. You can't just necessarily go out and pick a leader at the age of 22. You're not sure what you're going to have. And I think this was a team that's a little short on leadership, and maybe some of it started to show up after the off-season or in the clubhouse type problems that they had earlier this year. But if you look at it, they've got a chance now. There's got to be 2 or 3 guys on that smooth team that says, I don't want my career to end today. I'm willing to lay it on the line and go out and win a football game. Those are going to be the guys who determine the outcome of the game.
And that third quarter in the game that they played against Acadia was the old St. Mary's style offense. Has the changing in plays, do you think, made a difference? And that is, I think, because of the offensive line learning that Steve Samara changed somewhat of his offensive attack. But in that third quarter, we saw the old style. Can they do any of that today?
Well, I think they can, but I think conditions are going to dictate a lot of that. And I got to believe that sooner or later this game will be determined, at least on offense, in sort of a power running attack. And the pressure goes right back on that St. Mary's offensive line. It's going to, if these conditions hold up, this is going to be decided on the line of scrimmage. And we know that St. Mary's has had some problems in that area this year, and Acadia might have the advantage on those front lines on both sides of the ball.
Now, I know Acadia Acadia won last week. They beat St. FX in that semifinal game. But if they play like that here today, this game's going to be over pretty quickly, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think this is going to come down, again, defined by the conditions. It's going to be, I think, probably a special teams kind of game, and we've talked about that a little bit as well. Both of these teams have had special teams problems. And, the offenses and defenses on a day like today are probably going to wash each other out. That was what Coach Cummins said for sure, that, you're not going to be able to sustain long drives out there today. So you look at the special teams. Acadia's had a lot of trouble with block kicks, and St. Mary's has had a lot of trouble fielding punts. Somebody's going to drop one of these things, and it's going to determine the game.
And Monty, when you look at Acadia, they have a lot of fifth-year seniors, and you really get the feeling that if they're going to beat St. Mary's, and you don't want to look to next year, but this could be the year, and they appear that they're primed to do it here today.
It's never been close. The 99 game, I remember when Acadia played here, there was a feeling that Acadia could win that game that day, and it was very close. This Acadia team is really a byproduct of last year's disappointment against St. FX. A lot of these guys were moving on, and when they lost that game against St. FX, they decided they were going to take one more shot. One guy brought back another guy brought back another guy, and so on. And that's why you got 13 fifth-year guys. They're going to have to go back and make a whole lot of changes, like St. Mary's has made this year, like they all have to do. This is their year. This is their day. And, they believe that they can win it, and I think it's probably true that they can. Conditions don't help anybody.
But the quality that I see in the Acadia team is a calmness that you don't usually find in a team that hasn't been at the top for a while. But we could see all season they never got uptight. Coaching, and I give Jeff Cummings a lot of credit for this, approaches the game in a relaxed manner. It's passed on to his players. I think they can compete in the big game, more so perhaps than St. Mary's, in being relaxed and not uptight.
They've got nothing to lose. I mean, nobody really outside of Wolfville really expect them to come in and take this championship from St. Mary's. So they, if they lose today, everybody's going to say he had a really good year, and St. Mary's finally played the game people expected of them. But I think people who looked at this back in August, when we looked at the rosters, this Acadia team is probably older. This Acadia team has probably more experience at skill positions. This isn't a young, upcoming Acadia team. This is a team built to be competitive right now, right at the top of their game. If they're not successful today, they'll have to go right back into that rebuilding situation next year.
Okay, Monty, we want to thank you for joining us here at the pregame show, and we're going to see you at the half of the Chronicle Herald report.
My pleasure to be with
Monty
you guys.
Mosher of the Chronicle Herald. Now, earlier this week, they announced the major award winners in Atlantic University sport football, and let's take a look at those award winners for you right now. The MVP of the year, quarterback Steve Piniella of St. Mary's. The defensive player of the year, cornerback Eric Nielsen of Acadia. You're going to hear that name a lot here today. The rookie of the year, Adam Rogers, also of Acadia, and the lineman of the year, Kyle Markin of Acadia. And Steve Piniella being named the MVP. Any surprise there? I know some people would probably say maybe it should be Marvin McCooty, but how do you guys feel?
I think when you throw for 2,000 yards, that was a big number for him. And Steve, when he's had the time to throw this year, he's done well. We saw him at St. FX midway through the season. He picked the defense apart. And when he gets the time, I think he's the quarterback that he can be when he gets that help from the offensive line. We heard Monty talk about it. He didn't play so well in the loss against Concordia or against Laval. Didn't have a lot of time to throw there either. But I think it's a safe pick to go with him for MVP.
He is, and he had pressure from the start of the season, pressure he put on himself. But he did a great job at the start until he started facing, as you said, the pressure. And he faced the only game that I would say that he didn't face as much pressure might have been a Laval game. Right. And I think in that game it was such a large venue that he did tighten up a little bit and had some trouble. But I think it is his game today offensively where he's going to need to run a few times with the ball. He's going to need to pass a few times with the ball. And then, as Monty said, whichever team on special teams holds on to the ball is going to be in a good position to win this one.
Now, there's some talk that, he played in the summer. He played Arena League football in Texas. He's thrown a lot of footballs in the last 5, 6, 7 months, that his arm might be kind of dead, kind of tired. How do you feel about that? Do you think his arm is dead going into this game?
Well, I really thought that. I brought that forward a couple of weeks ago. But I think it may not have been necessarily being tired as much as at Laval. He really was tight. And when you tighten the muscles up, any athlete knows, you just don't get that fluid throw. And I think that's what happened. So, no, I don't think his arm is too tired. I think he's in good shape.
Good chance to look at some of the things he's done this year. And you talked about him running the ball today, John. I think maybe that's an area that we overlook with Steve Piniella. He's a rugged guy, too. He's 6'2" and about 215. So he can take it on the chin. when he has to, and that's one of the few passes he completed at Laval that day. But the point is, it's his last game of university football, and he doesn't want to be remembered as the quarterback at the helm when St. Mary's had their streak snapped. So we'll look for big things from number 6 today, but again, I think you go back to the offensive line to see how much time he gets.
Okay, let's take a look now at some of the other award winners here that were named the other day in Atlantic University Sport Football, and there you see Derek Smith, the DB for Acadia. He's the Russ Jackson nominee. The Coach of the Year is Jeff Cummins of Acadia, and the Volunteer Coach of the Year is Ted McLean of St. Mary's. Let's talk about Jeff Cummins. He has done a fantastic job with this Acadia team. He deserves to be the Coach of the Year, doesn't he?
He does, I think, for a couple of reasons. Process of elimination. You can't say it's Scott Fawcett. He's been fired. St. FX went 3-5, and you can't give it to Blake Mill. But that's not to take away from Cummins. He's really brought this team together. And what I like what he said all season, we're tired of moral victories. We want to win the big games, and he said that at Week 8 when they beat St. Mary's here.
That's true. I give this man all the credit in the world. I liked him last year when he was in there on a temporary basis. I was really pleased to see them sign him up. Of all the coaches in this league, if I was to turn around and say, who would I really like to coach with? Jeff Cummins. He just brings a relaxed attitude to the team, yet it's all work at times. But then he takes times off to have a few laughs, etc. And, you know, he comes on a little bit as a country guy, but I'll tell you, he's a sly fox. He is a good thinker. He does well offensively. I've been very impressed with his offensive coordination job this year, and he's made the offensive better.
Okay, let's take a look now at the All-Stars that were named earlier this week. We're going to start off with the D-line. You have Tim McDonald of the Huskies, Adam Acadia of the Axemen. He had 8.5 sacks this year. Tim Burris and Kyle Markin round out the front four. At linebacker, Steve Farrell of Acadia. Then the three Matts, Matt Fox of the Huskies, the Axemen's Matt Gratton, and then you have Matt Harding of Mount A. He led the conference with 53.5 tackles. The defensive backs are Sebastian Clovis, one of the hardest hitters in AUS football. Acadia's Eric Nielsen, there's that name again. Steve McCart of St. FX led the conference with 4 picks. Reed Smith and Derek Watson of the Huskies. Who would you say is the star out of that defense? I mean, a lot of great players right there. Eric Nielsen, I guess?
Well, to me, it's Steve Farrell, and Nielsen named Defensive Player of the Year, and I give him credit for that. But Farrell came on when Ian Overkirk and Chad McLaughlin, 2 key linebackers for Acadia, were hurt in Week 1, and he's been dominant. He's been all around the ball all year, and I expect more of that today from him.
I don't want to pick one. I want them all. It's a great crew because we had an opportunity to see all of them step forward in their position, whether it's DB or whether it's linebacker or whether it's lineman. And they put forward this year in this conference the most exciting football we've seen in a long time. A team like St. FX was not out of it. We knew going into that game at Acadia that this could be anybody's game. And it went down to the end of the game where it was starting to get scary for Acadia, who should have had the upper hand, and they didn't. And so for St. Mary's, they faced an Acadia team that has beat them at home. First time in a long time. So this league was exciting. And all of these All-Stars are well worth the votes.
Okay, let's take a look now at the offensive All-Stars. We'll start things off with the offensive line, and there you have 2 players each from St. Mary's and Acadia and 1 from Mount A. Eric Ince, Zach McCauley, Carl Ortmans, Isaac Robinson, and Adam Rogers. The receivers are Ivan Barunge and Mike Black from Acadia. They combined for 86 catches this year. 2 players from St. FX, Big Jeremy Marchand and Brian Posabon, and from St. Mary's, Fraser O'Neill. Now, the backfield consists of Steve Pinello, no surprise there, the running backs Marvin McCooty, and the versatile Les Mullings. Now, as for the special teams, Eric Nielsen was the special teams player of the year, 579 yards and kick returns. Dan Lumley and Rodrigo Davalis is your place kicker. And again, Steve Pinella right there. I mean, there was not a quarterback in this conference that could match him.
He put up the big numbers, and I'll tell you, I bet you Eric Nielsen was close. He played so well defensively and set a record for kick return yards. And, you know, that leads us to special teams, and we haven't really touched on the weather. Folks behind us, I'm sure, can see the snow falling, and wherever you're watching from today, you know what the weather's like. Tough to field kickoffs and punts in this kind of weather, John.
It definitely will be, and Les Mullings will come into his own there because we know as a special teams player, he's fantastic. In that offensive team, I really like Marvin McCooty. He just showed me a lot of get up and go. You could never put him out of the game, as we saw right down to the end of it. The other thing I'd like to mention is I was pleased to see both on offense one and on defense one Mount Allison representation. And Zach McCauley and Matt Harding, excellent players. And it shows us that on that team, they've got the basis. And I think if they bring in an excellent young coach or an excellent experienced coach, then they're going to be well on their way next year to making it even more competitive than they did this year.
Okay, let's take now a look at the head-to-head battles between these two teams so far this season. They've only played twice this season, both teams winning a game. Points for first downs, rushing yards are close between the two teams. St. Mary's had 115 more yards in passing and have a major edge in total yards. The stat that really stands out here is in the turnover department. St. Mary's turned the ball over in those two games 7 times compared to 1 turnover for Acadia. And you know, St. Mary's, they are so talented, but can they afford to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times? Can they still turn the ball over rather 2 or 3 times and win this game here today?
I wouldn't think so, and I spoke with Blake Nill a week and a half ago, as I mentioned earlier, and he talked about the fact that during practice they were going to try and cut down on mistakes. I don't know how you cut down on fumbles and interceptions. They're a veteran team, and it gives coaches nightmares, as you well know.
It does, and there's no way to practice these kinds of conditions. And last week we saw with a strong breeze and a cool temperature, the ball dropped a number of times, maybe 6 or 7 with 3 turnovers. No, you cannot afford to have more turnovers and expect to win. But there are key turnovers, and then there are turnovers you can give away. When you're in your own half of the field here today, you cannot give the ball up. When you come on to punt the ball, you need to get it away. So it's going to be crucial.
Okay, Dan, John, thanks a lot, and enjoy the game and try to stay out of the snowy weather. I'm sure you will up in the booth there. I'll be on the sideline.
That's all right.
Now, I had a chance to talk to both the head coaches before this game. I started off with talking to Jeff Cummins of Acadia, and I asked him what will his team have to do in order to shut down this high-powered offense of St. Mary's.
Our defense has to play good football. Every week we have to come out and play good football, and this week is no exception. The offense that St. Mary's has with Steve Pinella at quarterback is very potent. I think we did a pretty good job shutting them down last time we played them for 1 or 2 big plays, and giving them good field position in the third quarter was a tough thing to handle. But they're a good offense, and they're going to be tough to beat today with the weather the way it is. You know, running game is going to be real important, and if we can stop them from running the ball real well, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Now, Acadia beat St. Mary's in Week 8, 25-24. It was Acadia's first win at St. Mary's since October of 1997. The last time that Acadia won an AUS title was back in 1998. As for St. Mary's, I had a chance to talk to head coach Blake Nill, and I asked him how much did his team benefit from having that bye week, not worrying about football, to get ready for this game here this afternoon.
Well, it really helped us. You know, we were banged up quite a bit back from the Laval game. It allowed us to heal a bit. It allowed us to just, let's say, decompress a bit, right? It's been a pretty, trying. There's been a lot of trying times in the last couple of weeks, and I think we really benefit from it. The key is we're going to have to come out, quickly and not take a quarter to get back on our feet type thing.
Now, the Week 8 loss to Acadia was the first conference loss on home turf for St. Mary's since November of 1998. The Huskies will be looking to win their 6th straight conference title here today, and they have not lost 3 games in a row since 1998 as well. Folks, we got a great conference matchup for you here, a conference final game for you. When we come back, we'll have the opening kickoff right here at Husky Stadium.
Welcome back, everyone. We're all set to go here. It's the Huskies and the Axemen in the snow this afternoon, John. And the first time we've seen snow in this new turf here at Husky Stadium as we take a look at the officials. Peter Eady, the referee today. So we'll see what factor. We talked about weather the last month. It's been windy, I think, every day we've done a game. But the snow, no question, will come into play here today.
And the field seems to be holding up very well with very good footing. If anything, it will be the accumulation underfoot that will cause problems. But right now, the field is showing itself to really give the players a good opportunity here.
So DeValos will kick off. Nielsen and Pavlich are deep for the Axemen underway here in the conference championship. Eric Nielsen looks for some room to the outside. Nielsen out over the 35, and Nielsen, that's his specialty, all the way out to midfield, where the Axemen will start with good field position here in their opening drive.
Very important when getting the ball in their half to be able to get at least out to the 30-35, and here they do better and take it to midfield. Excellent blocks on the outside.
Take a look at Judd's numbers this year, both during the season and in the 2 games against St. Mary's. A nice touchdown to interception ratio, and he's meant so much, probably the surprise of the year in the conference. He was not eligible for Rookie of the Year honors, and his teammate Adam Rogers, the offensive lineman, won that award. So they will start right at the 55-yard line. Gillen, the lone setback. And the handoff goes to Mike Gillen, who sneaks through for about 4, perhaps 5 yards. And we'll show you the line formations, brought to you by Doskey's Catering.
And one of the things that we know, that all of the talk before the game and right up until this present time, Chris Judd has not been talked about. He could be the unforeseen factor. He has good feet, we know that, and he can run. I think both quarterbacks today may get the opportunity to do that. Eric
Nielsen on that kick return with 33 yards and 579, a conference record during the regular season. So it'll be a 2nd and 2 from about the 51-yard line. We'll do our best today to tell you where the ball is spotted. Judd will go to the air quickly to Barungi. He gets his footing and has enough for a first down. Ivan Barungi, the conference leader in touchdowns this season, makes his first catch of the year.
So using that underneath passing game, getting it out to the wide receiver and picking up the necessary yardage for a first down. So far, the formations are no different from what we've seen all season. They're not making any adjustments for the weather. They're playing this just like it was a nice sunny day right now.
Barungi last week, just one catch for 16 yards in the Axemen 15-8 victory over the St. FX Axemen on home turf. It was a little dicey for them there for a while, but they made it through this conference championship. 1st and 10. From the Husky 43. Judd hands off to Maxime Lavoie. He takes a crowd with him out over the 35 to about the 33. A nice run by Maxime Lavoie, who has only carried the ball 5 yards all regular season and into the playoffs.
And with good footing, it may be advantageous for the offensive line, as we see here, playing a little game inside where you can get a few quick traps and open people up and get straight ahead yardage.
So a gain of 9 for Lavoie, 2nd and 1. No doubt the guys with the shovels today will be busy trying to keep the yard markers clear. The Axemen with an impressive drive here in their opening opportunity on offense. Judd goes right back to Lavoie, who pushes ahead. Judd is clapping, indicating perhaps a first down, and they do move the sticks again. So the Axemen with some momentum here, John.
They do, and it's important right now for St. Mary's to, and they're playing the 52 starting out. That leaves those outsides open, but they're going to take away that inside run first, and they're going to have to shore that up with those 2 backers. Right now the backers are hanging back there a little bit. That's allowing the offensive line to get some blocking up front and move it up 3-4 yards before they're making contact. Those backers are going to have to step in and plug some of these holes.
So the ball at the 20. First down for Judd and the Axemen. Lavoie moves up to the left of the line. The handoff to Gillen. A nice hole for Mike Gillen, who could get inside the 10-yard line, and it's finally brought down by Birthright. Mike Gillen, some good footing there as he was able to keep his feet, and another first down for Acadia.
Wow, and you said it right there, Dan, and that is keep his feet. You can see good blocking. Everybody's just getting on their man, taking somebody. And Gillen here gets hit. He should have went down. He didn't. He stays on his feet, switches the ball over, and picks up great yardage. They're down in around the 6-yard line. Make that about the 9-yard line.
So it's been effortless basically so far for Acadia. Now they're in the red zone, 1st and goal from the 9. Judd with 3 receivers to his left. He goes back to Gillen, straight up the middle. Mike Gillen for about 3. He'll be close to the 5. It'll be 2nd down for the Axemen. And Gillen this season, 120 carries in the regular season for 526 yards and a touchdown.
Here we get a great opportunity to see the people just getting body on body and letting the back get up in there and do it. It's a lot easier for the offensive line here to make the blocks because they know where they're going. A little bit more difficult for the defense because the linebackers have to adjust right to left, and that's where the footing could be a problem.
So a gain of 3. It'll be 2nd and goal. Last week, Gillen 13 carries for 49 yards in the win against St. FX. Great look at Chris Judd. And they go back to Gillen, who tries to find a hole and gets brought down somewhere at about the 3-yard line. So that'll set up a 3rd down as we'll see what the Axemen do. And Pavlich comes in, so Looks like they might go for it here, John. No sign of Chase Turner, the field goal kicker.
That's correct. And again, field position is so great here for Acadia that they're willing to take a chance here and give up the 3. Very early in the game, people would say, well, let's go for that field goal. Early in the season, I would have said yes. Under different conditions, I might say yes. But right now, being down there so close, you have an opportunity for a field or a touchdown. If you miss it, you've got them and they're 2 or 3.
Crowd getting loud here at Husky Stadium as they want their Huskies to stop Pavlich, and he gets to the line and touchdown. Jordan Pavlich. So the Acadia Axemen start things off with a bang.
And what I like about this young man is he wraps the ball up with 2 arms, and then he heads for what hole will appear as his linemen make the blocks, and he picks up enough for the touchdown. Watch him as he takes the handoff, wrap both ends, and players are going to need to do this right here, and just bangs off the blocks and gets across the line just as he gets hit by Matt Fox. Matt Fox doing a good job, but we saw the difficulty for the backers of trying to step up and block those holes and not give up any yardage.
But Galen on that drive, 4 carries for 38 yards as the Axemen marching downfield, and Turner is on for the extra point. Matt Clough, the unenviable task of holding or for this extra point, and it's good. So the Axemen going to the ground, just the one pass on the drive to Barungi, a short pass for a first down, but Acadia, good work from the offensive line.
Again, we see the hole large at the start, and then when Fox moves in, just unable to hold them to no yards because they only needed to pick up a couple. This is really, really impressive. I don't think we really understand how difficult situations are out there right now with this snow and how slippery the ball. And Acadia takes it off of a very good kickoff return to midfield and marches it down for a touchdown. Huge play for Acadia. Going to be interesting to see how St. Mary's responds.
You look back at last week, it took Acadia into the third quarter until they scored their first points. The weather wasn't great last week, but I'm sure they would have preferred that type of day to the one that we have here today. So 8 plays for Acadia, taking 4 minutes and 37 seconds off the clock, and Pavlich running it in for the Axemen.
And one of the things about Acadia that I noticed this year, with the exception of one game where they were able to beat Mount Allison fairly handily, all of their other games, including their first game at Mount Allison, they play to the competition. If you're great, they play great. If you're playing a so-so game, they seem to play a so-so game. If there was ever a team that plays to the competition, it's this team here today.
Pavlich last week with the game-winning touchdown against St. X. There you see Curtis Nash back deep awaiting the kickoff. Al Giacalone also back there for St. Mary's. Turner bangs it low. That'll come to Nash. And he picks it up at the 20-yard line. Curtis Nash gets out to the 30, where he is brought down. And Steve Pinella will run the offense again in his 5th year out of Mississauga, Ontario. You see 2,024 yards this year. And that led the conference. And against Acadia, 34 for 60, 532 yards. So key for St. Mary's to, if not score here, John, at least establish an offensive attack, perhaps a first down or 2 to get themselves in the right frame of mind as Jack Loney, the lone backfield, takes the ball, has an open. Giacalone, he could go all the way. Giacalone last year, 447 yards in the conference championship game, and Al Giacalone just what the doctor ordered for the Huskies.
And Eric Nielsen doing a great job and may have saved the touchdown, able to cut him off, but Giacalone hitting. So we see right now the story of the day is going to be up front and how teams are going to be able to plug those holes, and neither team has been really successful. The first play for the line of scrimmage, Al Giacalone taking it downfield. Fantastic game for St. Mary's.
Well, the hole opened up once he got by the first would-be tackler. He was gone, and I mentioned it, 4 touchdowns last year against St. X in the conference championship game. So maybe Giacalone saving his best for last. 58 yards on that carry, and they go right back to number 10. Giacalone brought down by a trio of Axemen, including Kyle Markin.
And what it shows me is that defenses may have to take a risk here and start shooting gaps as opposed to playing people. When you play people body on body, that blocks you out from being able to go laterally. Now, normally on good field conditions, you can slide off and make the tackle. They may have to start shooting gaps here and play a little higher risk defense.
So it'll be 2nd and 6 for the Huskies at the Acadia 18-yard line. Pinella under center. And it's been all Giacalone in this drive, and right up the middle, Giacalone is brought down at the 5-yard line. So
Jack Loney bringing his A game here early. He's brought down by defensive back Matt Philbrick.
And Al Jack Loney doing a great job, as did Pavlich earlier, wrapping this ball. 2 arms, you'll see him bring the other arm across right here, and then just heading to open ground wherever he can see it, getting down to the 5-yard line.
Key block by all-star Eric Ince, who just blew his man off the ball and opening up a big gap for Jack Loney. It's a 1st and goal for the Huskies. Right back to Jack Loney. The stutter step, he drops it, picks it up, and he's going to lose yardage here as finally he is run over by Philbrick.
And Nielsen again doing an excellent job, because as soon as he saw that ball dropped out of the hands of Jack Loney, he fired from his defensive back position to come in and make sure he gained no further. Right there, hits off his own player, and Gabe Harvey, and we see right there Nielsen having come in very, very quickly to limit it, and then getting help from Philbrick.
It'll be 2nd and goal from the 12, a loss of 7 on the play.
Now the temptation here is to put the ball in the air, but they have been having success on the ground. I would hope that they would stick to it and see what they can pick up here with these gaps along the defensive line, posing problems for defenses right now.
3 receivers out to the right for Piniella. All kinds of time as he'll step up. Steve Piniella, 1st and goal as he gets to the 5 where Jack Loney had it previously. He is stopped there by the Axemen defense. Tarvez, Farrell, Derek Smith among the tacklers for the Axemen.
Unable to pick anyone up downfield.
Let's take a look at our turf trivia question for today, our final game of coverage in Atlantic University sport football. This year is the 45th anniversary of the Jewett Trophy. All 4 AUS schools have won since 1960. Rank the schools by number of wins. We saved maybe the toughest for last this year. We'll have that answer for you in the 3rd quarter.
And the toughest may not necessarily be the ranking, but for the experienced out there, try to put the number of wins per team to see how close you can come.
And you don't win anything, just bragging rights. So Davalos will come on to attempt this one from about the 15-yard line. It looks like Davalos, the all-conference kicker this year. And the chip shot is good. So 7-3. The Huskies answering back, John, with a nice drive of their own.
And a very wise move here to take the 3. This is far different from the situation at the other end of the field. Why? Because Acadia put 7 points on the board. Now you have to answer with something. You end up with a 3rd down and goal from the 5-yard line. You've got to show your team that they're well worth the effort they put out there by that big run. So they came up with 3 points. Here we see Piniella having to bring the ball down and then running upfield, getting hit right at the original line of scrimmage.
So on that drive, 2:42 coming off the clock, a 65-yard drive, much of it in that big first run from Jack Loney, 58 yards on the first play from scrimmage for the Huskies this afternoon, as Blake Mill talking to his special teams unit. No doubt both of those units on either side of the ball could play a big role here today.
And what's happening now is people have to understand that right off the bat, we've seen from both defenses the great difficulty here in stopping the offensive completely, not allowing any gaps where the runners can get through. So the story in the day is going to be which defense can make the adjustment. And secondly, what adjustment needs to be made? Well, the first one I try is to sneak those backers up a little bit close and almost get to shoot. Everybody shoot a gap. Now the risk there is, again, if you break them, it's like short yardage. If you break through there, then you're gone for sure. But right now, teams are being very successful, both teams, running against that defensive line. So we're going to have to stack that up a little bit and see what happens.
Well, the weather forecast today calling for just what you're seeing, perhaps a little bit of rain mixed in, but precipitation either way as Davalos will kick off. A short high kick as Pavlich runs underneath it. Jordan Pavlich able to escape a tackle and get out to the 50-yard line before he's pushed out of bounds by Woodley for the Huskies. And the Axemen will go back to work on offense. And if they have it as easy as they did the first time they had the ball, it could be a long afternoon for St. Mary's.
And the weather conditions in the rest of the country are much better than here out in Alberta, where we would have expected this kind of a day. They are having 10 degrees and sunny. In Ontario, around 3 and sunny. In Quebec, between 1 and 3 and sunny. So we are getting dumped on with the snow. I think the players would agree that we would prefer to stay snow rather than turn to rain. And right now, wind is not a factor. And as long as that does not become, then I think these teams will put on quite a show with what we've got right here. 1st and
10 from the Acadia 40-yard line. There you see Gillen in motion, takes a handoff, and Gillen goes nowhere as he is brought down. Let's go down to field side. Here's Peter Rutgazer.
Thank you very much, Dan. You're probably wondering where Acadia backup quarterback Kristen Pipe is. Well, on Thursday, he came down with pneumonia, so he's in the hospital recovering. And, you know, this is a quarterback that's had a lot of bad luck. Had the throat infection at the beginning of this season, then he had a hand injury. So we wish Kristen Pipe the best of luck as he watches on here this afternoon. Dan, back to you.
Indeed, and Pipe came through in a big way last week for Acadia against St. X. And he's just been a character guy for his entire time here at Acadia. No doubt rooting as hard as anyone for the Axemen here today as they lead the Huskies 7-3. Minimal gain last time, so 2nd and 10. That pass behind Matt Cole. And the Huskies with a much better performance on defense this time around. The Axemen will be forced to punt the ball.
And we know from the look of this that it's going to be difficult to pass, and that showed us right there in Pinella earlier where he couldn't find receivers open. Here is Judd dropped back. He's looking over the middle, and he's looking for his big tight end, Matt Clough, and he's just a little bit behind him. It's going to be extremely difficult to pass. And what St. Mary's did there on first down was they did bring those backers up in tight, and everybody was coming through a gap, and they were limited that first down to almost no gain. That forced Acadia to the air.
So Sharp to punt. And that's in the direction of Nash. Nash driven back to the 30-yard line, makes a couple of good moves. Curtis Nash with a bit of a hole, and Markin will bring him down at about the 41. That's where the slush eventually slowed down the 5th-year veteran Curtis Nash.
An excellent-looking punt with good air time. Nielsen was able to get downfield right underneath it.
I want to remind you of Harv Sportsland, Mondays on Eastlink Television with Harv Stewart, Brad McCon, and Cecil Wright. Call in. They'll talk about any sport you want. It's Harv Sportsland, Mondays at 8 on Eastlink Television.
Now, I'll risk this, and I'll say it was Brad, but it might have been Cecil in the last show, and talking to Jeff Cummings, was mentioning how important the running game was going to be this time of year, and I think that showed in the first 2 series. So I'll say it was Brad, but then I'll leave it up to Cecil to come back if it wasn't.
They're interchangeable, those guys. As we took a look at Giacalone, they go right back to Al. A little bit of an opening on the left side, and Giacalone scrambles for close to first down yardage, perhaps a gain of 9 on the play.
So a little bit of a risk of handling that ball going out wide, but if they get the key blocker too, we know that Giacalone can take it all the way. Here we see the pitch in fairly close, still a risk. There you see the block coming down at Ismako from the outside, and that's extremely important that out of your slots and wide receivers, you get those blocks coming down in to eliminate those corners and halfbacks who are trying to step up and take that away.
It was a gain of 8 in the play, so 2nd and 2 for St. Mary's from the 48-yard line. And the inside handoff to Harvey, who moves the pile. It would appear enough for a first down. What a nice luxury for Blake Nill to be able to go with Al Giacalone. Les Mullings, one of the all-stars at running back this year. We haven't seen him so far on offense. Giacalone carrying the load.
And Gabe Harvey, a capable blocker and runner in there as well. And they will get a lot of yards off of running that lead blocker through and picking up blocks on those backers who are trying to step into the gaps.
Harvey in his 5th year out of Lower Sackville. He does not want this to be his last game. A number of 5th-year players for Acadia as well. They go right back to Giacalone. He was wrapped up by Kyle Markin and Steve Farrell, perhaps getting back to the line of scrimmage. Set up a 2nd and long for Blake Nill and the Huskies as Tomiak will run in and replace Harvey in a passing situation for the maroon and white. Huskies winning 5 straight titles. Their 5th last year, set a record. They're looking for their 6th today. It'll be 2nd and 8 from the 53-yard line. 3 receivers to the right, and they just hand it back off to Giacalone, who hits the hole with speed. Giacalone with a first down and more, as he is to the Acadia 40-yard line.
And the reason that play was so successful was that the linebacker to that side had waited, then stepped up and shot in. He was blitzing, and there you see number 2 go right by, and then Giacalone runs to right where he was. And so with Derek Smith shooting into the backfield, no one was left at home. Giacalone hit that opening straight ahead, took it down for first down yardage.
Else from Calgary, maybe he's used to running on snowy fields, but he's been terrific here. In the first half, they go right back to him. He runs off the right side this time. Philbrick finally bringing down Giacalone as he picks up about 7 on the play. I want to remind you to stay tuned at the half as Monty Mosier will reappear. We had him on in the pregame. He'll talk about today's game and the season that's gone by. It's the Chronicle Herald Report with Monty Mosier at the half.
We have a flag down on the play, and we'll wait here for the call from our head referee, Peter Eady.
Objectionable conduct on the offense. 10-yard penalty, second down.
Our first flag of the afternoon goes against the Huskies.
After a good gain on first down, that's not something you want to have happen. So somebody was baiting here. Coaches wanting to know what was the penalty out there, and the signal was for objectionable conduct. So something was said or done. You have to keep your cool. You can't be giving up yards this way. Now, Peter Edie is well known. The coaches should know this, and the players should know this, and that is he runs this very, very tight ship. If you're going to start melting out there, he's going to start handing out the penalties right away. And so both the coaches have to prepare their teams for officials as well as they do for the opponents. And they should know he's not going to stand for any of his foolishness.
2nd and 14 from the Acadia 44 after that penalty. They go back to Jack Loney. They fake it, and Pinello over the middle, and caught by Warburton as he climbs a ladder and drops the ball. It's loose. Farrell dives in, and the Axemen think they have it.
Well, this is anybody's ball, and they're fighting for it in the bottom of the pile because they'll wait to see who comes up with it. Unfortunate on the hit, a good solid hit. A number of great things happened on that play. The fake by Pinello was great. They even pulled a lineman to make it look real, and then he still had the ball and he threw downfield. And then it was really a nice catch going up high in bad conditions. And there we see Steve Farrell, I believe, coming up with the ball. So it will be Acadia ball. Big turnover.
Farrell this year, 2 interceptions, 47.5 tackles, and a sack. 7 tackles last week against the St. FX Axemen. So a turnover. We saw that stat in the pregame. St. Mary's against Acadia this year, 7 turnovers. Acadia with only 1. Well executed play though, John, as you say, but just not in the cards for Blake Nill and the Huskies that time around. They start from their own 32, will the Axemen. Gillen back in the game at running back. And they go to number 1. Gillen with a big hole on the right side. Mike Gillen all the way out to the 53-yard line, where he is brought down by Dave Metlich and Curtis Nash.
And watching that play begin, even before the snap of the ball, it looked obvious that this side of the field, the wide side of the field at the time, did not have any backer step up in the line. He came back in and lined up behind the defensive end. And right away, Acadia took advantage of that, brought both their slot and their flanker down from the outside to pick up blocks, and they were away.
Those were the numbers versus St. Mary's in the 2 games for Gillen that we just showed you. Again, each team winning a game in their matchups this year. St. Mary's in week 1 and Acadia in week 8 right here at Husky Stadium. They're trying to duplicate that today. Pavlich now gets wrapped up by Koki, and they'll be lucky if he gets back to the line of scrimmage. As also in there is Matt Fox. A minimal gain as the Huskies having a hard time shutting down that run attack of the Axemen so far here in the first quarter. Great look at Chris Judd. What a revelation he's been here his first year after attending junior college and playing football in the United States last year. He's from the Los Angeles area, as his coach Jeff Cummins and a number of the Acadia Axemen. 2nd and long for Acadia. They have a lot of fans here today. You can hear them here at Husky Stadium. Judd will look to the air, and that pass behind the intended receiver, and Price looking for a flag, and it's thrown.
There is a flag, and that certainly looked like there was contact prior to the snap of the ball, and the initial signal given by the referee is just that, pass interference against St. Mary's. It wasn't a huge one, but that definitely was contact before the ball was there.
Forward pass interference on the defense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
And that's huge because it's an automatic first down. So Acadia is able to keep this drive going, which had started in their own end off of that turnover.
So the ball will be spotted at the, say, 47-yard line of St. Mary's. The snow continues to fall here in Halifax. We're glad you could join us. An eagerly anticipated game, to be sure, between these 2 rivals. There you see Pavlich lined up behind Judd. He gets the handoff over the left side, and a nice tackle on the play by Sebastian Clovis. And this man could be a key today for the Huskies.
And it tells you how they're going to attack this by bringing the defensive back up Clovis close to the line of scrimmage and then shooting him as soon as they see either right or left play to the outside, and he was quick to get up there. Excellent play by Clovis.
You say no gain on the play. It will remain 2nd and 9 now for the Axemen. Here you see Shannon Knoll, number 8, running out to the right where he will line up a wide receiver. Price over there as well. Barungi in black to the left. Huskies showing blitz here. Crowd chanting defense as Judd gets a good block from Pavlich, and a pass intended for Black, and just too far incomplete. So the Axemen will be forced to punt here as we are through 15 minutes of action. The Axemen up 7-3 on the Huskies. You're watching Atlantic University Sport Football on Eastlink Television. So the Axemen scoring first as you look at their cheerleading squad. A touchdown by Pavlich in the early minutes of the first quarter, and St. Mary's replying with a short field goal from Davalos. And that is your score, 7-3 here at Husky Stadium as we go into the second quarter.
And as we watch the players on the field, here we get a good look in the stands. As you watch the players in the field, they keep kicking their feet, and that shows me that what was thought at the beginning of the game has become a reality. And that is the problem is that the snow will pack underneath the cleats of your shoe and unable to get off, much the same mud would. But the surface for the folks at home, the surface of this field is holding up really well. The players have good footing other than when it builds up a certain amount of snow and they start getting slippery and they have to get it off. So they almost need the mud brushes that are usually placed along the sidelines on a natural field.
Jack Loney's been terrific so far today and limited a little bit this year with injuries, but we're going to take a look at some of the things he's been able to do when healthy this year for the St. Mary's Huskies. And John, he might be the fastest runner in this conference. That was the opening week against Acadia, where again he can be quiet, but when he breaks a big play, he certainly can factor into it, and he's done that already in the first quarter.
And what you will notice is he has a very great right there kick, cut to his left. He always has a great ability to go against the flow.
You know, I look at that green grass and I long for September as we look at what Jackalone has done versus Acadia in the 2 games this year. That's a hallmark of Jackalone's game. You see his average per carry up over 10 yards per carry at 10.4. So they'll shovel off some of the lines here on the new turf. Our first game here this year was Concordia, our only game other than this, and got a good look at the new surface this year. Boy, those guys are earning their hot chocolate today. And it's beautiful. Again, last year they would have just taken on a plow, I'm sure, and driven it right off, driven the snow off the turf, but put a lot of money and a lot of time into this surface.
And the old surface would have been very, very slippery and slick. This is giving the players footing.
So Sharp will punt. We've seen Turner most recently leading into this week, but Sharp, a very capable kicker. Nash, the only man back for the Huskies, and Nash will pick up that ball at around the 20-yard line. Gets about 5 or 6 on the return. Curtis Nash, a member of the last Huskies team not to make the playoffs, went 4-4 back in '98 as we take a look at the first quarter stats.
And the stats here show us the rushing game is what it is going to be about today. St. Mary's with a couple of really nice runs by Jack Loney at 109 yards, but Acadia did pick up theirs and some nice drives downfield. So those yards should build up over the game. 109 to 60, a good advantage for St. Mary's, but it does not reflect it on the scoreboard. Acadia has the lone touchdown and St. Mary's a field goal.
So St. Mary's will start from their 25. And they go to Les Mullins, his first carry of the game. You see the flag on the play, standing out like a sore thumb in the white turf. And we'll see who it's against.
And the area is the area for holding against the offense, so we'll wait and see that call. It may take it back. And the preliminary signal is telling us that it is holding. This is something you don't want to have happen in your own end. You can't afford A, turnovers, but B, don't give up yardage such as this.
Holding on the offense. Still first down.
So Peter Eady making the call. Good snowball weather too today, John. Good sticky snow, but the Huskies a little sticky on the O-line. You see that McHugh was falling down. Eric Ince, pardon me, and that's for the whole game. Ince, as I mentioned, named to the offensive line all-star team. So first and 15 for St. Mary's. Pinella fake the pass and goes to Gabe Harvey, who has a good opening, and Harvey back to about the original line of scrimmage, plus a couple. We'll call it to 2nd and 8.
A very good first down play where they lost the yardage facing a 1st and 20. They run a draw. And here we can see just faking a little pass, showing the DBs and linebackers the ball, and then handing off to Gabe Harvey, running straight ahead and picking up about 12. As you mentioned, it'll be 2nd and 8.
Blake Nill looking on. Jack Loney, 8 carries for 102 yards in the first quarter. And as I said last year, I know it was last year, but he had 447 all-purpose yards against St. FX in the conference championship and 4 TDs. The Huskies trailing it by 4 here early in the second half. In the second quarter, Pinella falls, and even though he's not touched, he is ruled down.
That is correct. Unfortunate for Pinella, because in Canadian college football, once your knee touches, regardless whether anyone touched you before, once you touch down, that's it, and so the whistle went.
Well, he got up to his feet pretty quickly. He almost fooled the referees, but the Huskies will be forced to punt from deep in their end.
That is the first time that we've seen a player really have difficulty with their footing, and it was a case of a back step and a turn at the same time that got him into problem. Other than that, players are kicking the snow off their feet, but the footing has been fair.
So Gillen and Black are deep for Acadia. Danny Lumley to punt. Lumley this year, the all-star at punter, 39 punts for 38.7-yard average. And it comes to Mike Black at the 40. He's wrapped up right away. Great play by Tyrone Rue, who got down the field in a hurry.
Tyrone Rue getting off his block so quick. There was no opportunity for Acadia to advance the ball, and that was going to be important because they were kicking from deep in their own end.
So the Huskies, the Axemen rather, will start at the 50-yard line, it would appear. Judd running on. So Judd behind him will have Pavlich as the lone setback. 3 receivers to the right. Lavoie also in the backfield. Big number 39. 1st and 10. Fake the handoff. And Medledge with the sack on Judd. A loss of about 10. So the Huskies, the last 2 plays, getting through in a hurry. Let's go down to Peter Rutgazer.
Thank you very much, Dan. You know, as you can see with all this bad weather here, the snow, footing is going to be so important. I talked to Ivan Barunge and Mike Gillen of Acadia, and they tell me they're wearing a 14-stud shoe. They say that they have great traction on the field. As for St. Mary's, I talked to Curtis Nash, and he says their team is using a 7-stud shoe. So both sides seem to feel that the traction is okay right now, but as the weather gets more deteriorated here with the snow, that could change. Dan, back to you.
And you got to have the winter tires on, John, on a day like today, and just wonder what maybe we'll talk about it too, the chance of over pursuing someone when you're trying to go for the tackle. Right now, 2nd and about 20 for Acadia. Judd goes to the air, it's tipped, and it goes right to Barunge, who won't have enough for a first down. So Tyler Powell able to get the right hand on that, and lucky for the Axemen that it went to Barunge.
What Barunge did well here was that he turned to look for the ball early. That being the case, he saw it come off the hand and he was able to adjust his pattern. Unable to pick up the first down, it certainly did advance to put them in good position for the punt. But as you said, Dan, it is going to be a problem to adjust. We saw Tyrone Rue off that last punt be able to come off his block, took a straight line and made it quick. If you can do that, you're all right. If that punt returner or if the ball carrier is able to adjust their path at all, then you're in trouble because you won't be able to adjust yours.
Great look at Cummins talking to Barunge, and just from that picture you get the feeling that he is a player's coach and knows how to deal with his players. He's a young guy. I mean, he's like a teenager, and I mean that in the most respectful way. He really seems to enjoy himself, and I think it's been infectious this year. Sharp will punt again as back deep is Nash. A good punt from Matt Sharp. Ample hang time. Nash trying to keep his feet, a flag behind the play, and Curtis Nash gets all the way out to the 45, but it could be an illegal block as Andre Knights wrapped up his player way downfield.
And it was so obvious that we could see it up here. Andre Knights has to realize if I can see the back of the player, I can't keep going ahead and pushing with both my hands in his back. Nash did a great job of getting that back to the 45, getting them out of a deep hole. They're going to be down south somewhere around their 5-yard line. And as we watch the replay, watch here to the right of your screen, right there. Andre Knight's number 24, pushing the back of the Acadia players. He went all the way through, and that is going to cost them big time. And that was Nielsen that he put the block on from behind. There we see Nash, a great run back, and we have a couple of players down injured on the play as we have a look here.
It's McDonald and Markin, and they ran into each other. Markin was blocked and just kind of rolled along the turf, and then McDonald came right over him. So two of the best defensive players in the conference. But take a look at it. You'll see it as the play develops near the bottom of your screen. Markin is number 27 for Acadia. He'll come into the picture. There's McDonald, number 44. So watch number 44. There's Markin. McDonald goes over top of him. So the two players colliding, and they're both up off the field now.
Well, you could understand a lot of times therapists love to be able on the sideline to be able to see a play over again, or they'll watch it the next week to diagnose injury. On that play, you could see it wasn't going to be real serious probably. It looked more like they hit shin on shin, or a foot hit along the shin. So both of them are now up and off the field, and that's good for both teams.
So it's 1st and 10 for the Huskies from the 8, and they give it to Giacalone with another gaping hole up the middle. Al Giacalone with a gain of about 15 on the carry. Another first down for St. Mary's.
It's going to be a danger for both teams all day. You're never going to be real confident that you can close up the middle, because a little bit of hole opening up, allowing it back. Right here, as you see him run straight forward, and you see Steve Harrow there, just having had his body blocked out by Nathan McHugh, didn't allow him to slide off. And with the field conditions, it just takes that second. Giacalone's that quick getting through.
Matt Philbrick with the tackle. He's been busy here in the first half. First down for the Huskies. Flag in the play as Giacalone gets about 4.
Again, we see the flag really showing up here against the white background, and it's showing us that it's possibly a holding call coming from inside.
Peter Eady, your referee.
Mouth guard warning on the offense. Mouth guard warning on the offense.
So there's no problem here, no penalty, no yardage lost, etc. The first time is a warning. If it happens a second, then it is a penalty and yardage is marked off. So St. Mary's keeps the gain that they've got, and it looks to be a second and about 6.
It is indeed 2nd and 6 after Giacalone picking up 4s. You look at Piniella, Jaden Volchoff, a first-year Husky on the offensive line, big number 68. Piniella with 3 receivers to his left and 1 to his right. The receiver to his right is Atlas Mako. Piniella directing traffic. Out of the gun, he goes over the middle, intended for Woodley, and almost picked off. Some good coverage downfield by Reed Smith. Time now for our turf trivia question. We'll have the answer for you in the 3rd quarter. This year, it's the 45th anniversary of the Jewett Trophy. All 4 conference schools have won since 1960. Rank the schools by number of wins, and if you can, give us how many for each school. We'll have the answer, as I mentioned, in the 3rd quarter. That question brought to you by Eastlink Television.
That was a great play by Reed Smith to stay with the receiver and then just reach over his shoulder and knock away, because it was a good-looking pass from Piniella. Reed
Smith, conference all-star this year, and the Axemen have a terrific secondary. Smith, a big part of that. So a timeout called by the Huskies here with 9:43 remaining. So Lumley back to punt. Take a look at Blake Nill, and Mike Gillen has had a good first half, 6 carries for 52 yards. Take a look at some of the things he's done this year. Great opportunity for him to move to tailback this year. He really got the bulk of the carries in the first few games of the season.
And he explodes through lines, which is exciting to watch.
Gillen, of course, part of a 1-2 punch with Pavlich in the backfield, and Jeff Cummins says he's pound for pound the strongest man on the team. Number 1, Mike Gillen. He had been number 4 the last couple of weeks. Now back to his old familiar number 1, and he's back to return this punt along with Black, as Lumley is at about his 20. Fields a low snap, and the Windsor, Ontario native bounces it out to about the 52, where Gillen is wrapped up by Les Mullings and finally brought down at the 45. And you mentioned it earlier, John, in the pregame. Mullings is a terrific special teams player.
He is. He did a good job of finishing off a job that was started by the first player downfield. You want the first player to just shoot in there and make this returner commit himself. And as soon as he does, Les Mullings steps in to make the tackle.
So that'll drive the Axemen back to about the 43. They're up 7-3 here as Chris Judd comes onto the field. I wonder if this is the first snow he's ever seen. He grew up in California. It's his first year here. No doubt his first game playing in these sort of conditions. Thrown a couple of passes to Ivan Barungi here this afternoon.
But certainly here we see.
We think it's 2nd and 15. We didn't get the most hard one. There's no yardage. I know, but we did. Look, there was a flag on the ground. Yes. We're thinking it's at least 2nd or 15. We never got told it was a most hard one, so we called our play instead of 2nd and 4. We're throwing downfield. We think it's a 15. You know, we call a play for 15 yards, and we got a 2nd and 4.
Coach, you know what? In that case, you have the right to go down the field and ask your official.
I asked them.
I don't mean to go all the way down, but one of your assistants.
So, John, clarify what Blake Mills' argument is.
What Blake is doing is saying he's not getting on-field communication from the officials to him. That the play being up at the other end of the field, they far to the right, that they're dependent on the officials to make it clear to the bench. That is not just to you and I as fans, but to face the bench and make that call so they're aware of it. He saw the flag, and their offense thought it was now 2nd and 15, rather than no penalty applied. They got the yard, so it was really only a 2nd down and 6, I believe it was. But they called a pass play. They might have run it otherwise. So a little frustration on the part of the coach. Part of that is coaching on the sidelines. You've got to get some people in there who are strictly watching, getting to you the information that you need. But that's the message he's getting across. Hey, step towards us, full view. Let's have the call so we know what's going on.
So that's ironed out. 1st and 10 from the Acadia 50-yard line. And the handoff goes to Pavlich, who stops and gets wrapped up. Metledge in there on the tackle. 3 Huskies bringing him down. I want to remind you to join host Tanya St. Pierre for Eastlink Magazine, as Eastlink Television takes its own unique look at special people and places that make our communities. That's Eastlink Magazine, Sundays and Wednesdays at 7 o'clock.
The other difficulty that could be posed here is that the snow, not blowing hard, into your face if you're standing out there on the sideline, makes it extremely difficult to look downfield. And so they are having trouble. So the linesman nearest to him may be having to translate or pass on the message coming from the head referee when the penalty is made.
So it will be 2nd and 10 as both offenses slowing down a bit here in the inclement weather. They fake it to Gillen, and Judd with time. Looking downfield, and now goes to Lavoie right through the arms of the fullback as Watson was there on the coverage along with Metledge and Clovis. He had a deep option but decided to go to Maxime Lavoie, but buying some time with the play action.
Gets good blocking as the linemen pull out here. We can see them picking up people. Rogers out there, for example, and he puts a lot on this ball, and that's going to be extremely difficult today. If there's anything on the ball, the receivers are going to have a lot of problems pulling it down.
So the Huskies, Nash, who's been busy, will go back to field this kick, and the St. Mary's squad will call another timeout.
And timeouts can be called from the bench, and the referee, the linesman you see there signaling it, can be called from the bench, and so St. Mary's wanted a timeout because they just were not sure what was going on. They either needed a formation change or they needed some extra players. And right now, when I see a coach in the sidelines looking at a clipboard like that, it tells me that somebody in the special teams, and that's, I believe, Pierre Lefebvre, they had too many players on the field. They just brought him off. Had they got caught with too many players on the field, it would have been 1st down for Acadia. Irregardless of the yardage needs to be made. You get caught with 12. So that was a crucial timeout in order to get that extra man off the field.
There's Philbrick, Matt Philbrick taking direction from Jeff Cummins. Steve Pinello waiting on the sidelines. Chris Judge is coming off the field. 2 of 5 now for 15 yards. Both catches going to Ivan Barungi. So Sharp will go back to punt. He's in his 5th year out of North Vancouver. And lined up at about, we'll say, his 35-yard line underneath the snow. Here's a good look at Curtis Nash of LaSalle, Quebec, former draft choice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And the winner of today's game could go to Saskatchewan next week. More about that a little later. As the ball bounces at the 45, Nash takes it and gets brought down by Murphy Tarbez. And let's take a look at the road to the Vanier Cup. Of course, conference finals going on across the country here today, John. And Dunsmore Cup, that should be interesting. Laval versus Montreal. How about Saskatchewan, Alberta, McMaster, and Laurier? But we've seen Laval this year, and that would be a nice one to see as we take a look at how things are going to play out eventually to get to the Vanier Cup.
So the winner here will be going out west. We know that. And it is interesting that 3 of the established teams, McMaster, for example, Laval, and St. Mary's, could all be knocked out, 1 or more of them. And that's a big turnaround in 1 year.
Well, you think whoever wins today will have to play in bad weather next week, as Mullings is going to get brought down behind the line of scrimmage. Probably a loss of 4 for big number 15.
When the hole is not there right at the line of scrimmage, then his momentum is taken away and he has to try to restart, and that's almost impossible on this field. He's got to try to get a little more depth, perhaps, not hit it as quick, and hope that that opening is there.
There's Tim McDonald, an all-star on defensive line this year, getting worked on. We showed you his collision with Kyle Markin earlier. Markin back out on the field at rush in, number 27 for Acadia, as it's second and long. We're saying it's only a loss of 1 for Mullings. Pinella works out of the gun. The pump fake. Gets a good block from Cowan, and the short screen to Mako, who has open ground in front of him. Atlas Mako all the way out over midfield inside Acadia territory. Mako, 18 catches this year for 358 yards and a touchdown in the regular season.
Mako doing an excellent job helping his quarterback out here, coming back in underneath where there was opening so he could get the ball out. Everybody was covered downfield, and you see Mako come back. He was downfield. He came back in underneath to take that pass, and he picked up the first down. That was a big first down for St. Mary's here as they moved the ball over center field.
Pinella now 2 of 3 for 37 yards as the Huskies will scrimmage from the 53-yard line of Acadia. They trail it 7-3. Mullings straight ahead as he rumbles for about 8 yards out to the 46-yard line. So the Huskies going with Les Mullings this time as Jack Loney takes a breather. Second and short for St. Mary's.
You want to make sure if you're going to use your backs that you keep rotating them, not so much to rest the guy who's on the field, but to get the people off the field into the game.
And the timeout on the play. Let's go down to Peter Rutgazer at the sidelines.
Thank you very much, Dan. You know, one football player who's had a long season is St. Mary's quarterback Steve Pinella. In the summertime, he played Arena League football in Texas, came back to the Huskies in the fall. So, as we said in the pregame show, he has thrown a lot of footballs in the last 5 or 6 months. Now, he says that his arm is fine. Some people question that. They feel that his arm might be dead, but you got to like the numbers that the 2004 MVP put up this year. He threw for over 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. There are a lot of quarterbacks in CIS football that would love to have those numbers. Dan, back to you.
Thank you, Peter. Steve Farrell was the injured player for Acadia, so he checks out of the game, and it'll be 2nd and 3 for Pinella and St. Mary's. Ball at the 46-yard line of Acadia. Mullings in motion, takes the handoff, and a nice tackle. We'll see where they spot it, but Derek Smith knifing through to bring down Mullings.
And Mullings may need all of his height advantage on that one because he did manage to get forward at least the length of his body, and that may be close enough for a measure. We'll wait and see. Here we see the straight head of handoff and then being able to get his body there on a second effort. But the referee has indicated 3rd down, and it will be 3rd and less than a yard.
Good to see Derek Smith in that tackle. 2 years now, the Russ Jackson nominee for his work not only on the football field but in the classroom and in the community. So the Huskies are going to go for it. Their first attempts on 3rd down, 3rd and 1 they're going to call it. Mullings the lone setback. And Pinella falls backwards, it would appear. I'm not sure if they're going to measure it. They are going to move the sticks. It is a 1st down.
So when he got a hold of the ball, and again, this is the safest play, and that is no handoff exchange, the straight snap, and the quarterback going forward. Got enough momentum there to pick up the 1st down.
Some time ticking away in what's been a swift first half. Jeff Cummins, Coach of the Year in Atlantic University sport football. Giacalone checks in at running back. 3 receivers to the left of Steve Pinella. Al Giacalone straight up the middle as Markin ties him up. Giacalone with 5 on the carry. Giacalone now with the 10 carries for up but 120 yards unofficially. All of that work done here in the first half with 4:50 to go in the second quarter. 2nd and 5, as I mentioned. Nice crowd on hand in favor of Acadia. I know at week 8, the final game of the regular season, they Had a pretty good rivalry going with some of the Huskies fans. Pinella maintains his feet and gets it to Giacalone, who is out near first down yardage. We'll see where they mark that ball. Well, Monty Mosier, he'll be on again. He's worked hard for us this year. He'll have the Chronicle Herald report with Peter Rutgazer at the half talking about today's game. Be sure to stay tuned for that.
And they are showing us that first down yardage was gained, showing it 1st and 10. Steve Pinella has had a couple of times where his feet have caused a little bit of difficulty. And again, it's not the straight drop back, but the drop back and twist, the step back and then turning to his right and left seems to be posing a problem. So we'll keep an eye on that. But they do have good field position here. Being inside looks to be about their Acadia 44-yard line.
The Huskies trailing 7-3. So Harvey and Giacalone in the backfield. Harvey in motion. They give it to him. Harvey spins out of a tackle. A nice move by Gabe to pick up about 6 on the play. As probably to the 33-yard line. We'll try and get a reading on that. Again, the line's covered by snow.
I believe I said 44, and they were actually much closer ahead than that, around the 35. But keeping the balance is a big, big thing today, because if you can keep your balance, wrap the ball up with 2 hands, then good things are going to happen.
The 2nd and 3 from the Acadia 26 is St. Mary's with its longest drive of the game so far. Pinella will get a chance to talk things over here with a timeout called by Acadia. Well, Les Mullings has another good year this year, John. Maybe not as successful as last year, but certainly has caught the ball well out of the backfield this season. We're going to see some of that. And not many Huskies had a big game against Laval, but he had a couple of good runs, one right there, but showing good dexterity, catching the ball as he did right there against St. FX.
An all-purpose back will find his way to make the yards. He also finds the ways on special teams to contribute. So he has been a force to be reckoned with. The difficulty is having a lot of backs. As I said earlier, you want to keep them in the game, and that means that all your backs don't get as much individual time as they would like.
Mullings this year, 362 yards rushing, 444 yards receiving, and will be draft eligible next spring. And I'm sure a CFL club will draft big number 15. He said, I keep hearing fullback, but I don't like that. He wants to be just a tailback. And Giacalone in there right now as the Huskies work on 2nd and 5. They go to Giacalone, who stays on his feet and goes through that hole. Giacalone, a first down, brought down by Sean Knox. The snow not bothering number 10 at all today.
And St. Mary's very fortunate there, because as it went to the outside, Jaden Volkov had a good grasp on one of the Acadia linemen. I was waiting to see the flag. It did not come. So they will be good for this first down. But we'll see the hole right there on number 27, Markin, where he turns him to the side. Good pickup by Giacalone. He seems to be able to do a great job today in keeping his balance and spinning to the outside. He's not cutting back as he normally does, because the field simply will not allow him to do that.
So 1st and 10 for St. Mary's from about the 13-yard line. Giacalone again picks his spots, and Al Giacalone out near first down yardage again. He's being very patient, waiting for those holes to open.
He is, and the line is staying on. They're staying on their feet, and they're pushing people around. In this footing, it's a difficulty to get at any upfield push. So basically what they're doing is catching a lot of these blocks, and if the back holds onto the ball, then he's going to be able to find openings.
Sean Knox, the first tackler for Acadia on that play. So it's 2nd and about 1, so not a bad position for the Huskies to be in here. Maybe a little bit of play action as we're inside 3 minutes to go, but with 2nd and short, a lot of options for number 6, Steve Pinella. He can carry the ball as well. He's good at running the rock, is number 6. 3 receivers to the left. Mako, the lone wide out to the right. And they go right back to Giacalone, who runs into the pile. No doubt will have enough to move the sticks. It'll be 1st and goal.
And that was the key thing there, was that realizing you could have a first down without having to get a touchdown. They went after that and got it. So they will have 1st and goal from about the 1-yard line.
So the Huskies threatening here to try and tie the score, perhaps go ahead. They're down 7-3. Both teams scoring on their opening possession here this afternoon. Pavlich with a touchdown and Davalos with a 12-yard field goal at the other end. So the Axemen, John, almost getting caught with too many men in the field, and they quickly call a timeout before that transpired.
So it's when you're down on the goal line, what you want to do is you want to get the people into play for your goal line defense, which is a lot different. You tend to bring in the bigger guys, stack up the middle, make teams go to the outside.
So you see Pinella trying to hurry it up and get that snap off, and there's Derek Smith rushing through. Tough to see where the ball spotted, John, I believe, at about the 2-yard line.
It's very, very close. And here you see Pinella asking, hey, shouldn't that have been offside? They stepped in, but the timeout was being called, and they were recognizing that as Derek Smith stepped in there to try to get that play stopped.
Peter Eady, the referee. So first and goal for St. Mary's. See Jeremy Mole, number 49, just scraping some of the snow out from his cleats. A good report from Peter about the studs and the type of cleats the guys are wearing today as the Acadia defenders do some maintenance on their defensive turf.
And cleat-wise, legally you can have as many cleats or as few as you want in those molded. Where the legal or illegal comes into play is the length of the cleat. And so they are, I believe, down to 5/8, if I'm not mistaken. It could be a ½ inch, and it cannot be longer than that.
Well, great look at it there. Some of the Huskies on the sidelines and the footwear they have here this afternoon. They're looking for a touchdown. First and goal from, we'll call it the 2. Pinella to Harvey, dives over, and no indication. He's not in.
He went in the air to get it. Again, it's difficult. You're counting on your officials to be able to have a great view along that line and make some call up in the air. And it didn't happen. The referee was on the spot. Good position to make that call, and it will be put back on the 1. And unlike American football, where if you're at the 1-foot line, then you get that and you only have a foot to go. We will always, in Canadian football, field it from, at the minimum, the 1-yard line. So he may have been inside that, but it's now moved back to the 1, so it's second and goal again.
So second and goal, you would think that the Huskies would take 3 cracks at it if they have to, but they want to ram it in here if they can. And Pinella, the keeper, and a touchdown. Steve Pinella puts the Huskies ahead as they go up 10-7. 9-7, awaiting the convert. So an impressive drive, John. The offensive line really clicking for the Huskies on that possession.
Very quietly, they moved the ball down the field and got it in position where they could score. And Mr. Pinella keeping his hands on the ball here. No exchange, sliding to his left, coming off the down block, and then getting the yardage to get into the end zone. And as I said, St. Mary's did this very quietly. Just one series after another, moved it down and got it in position to go ahead.
Pinella, this season, 3 rushing touchdowns. 1 against Acadia in the opening week as Loney is on to hold for Davalos. And the extra point is good. So St. Mary's goes up 10-7. 13-play drive covering 75 yards. It took 6:08 off the clock. Pinella with a 2-yard touchdown run.
So we had seen Coach Blake Neal becoming concerned a little bit earlier, and now he realizes that getting on the players, getting their attention to what was going on, even working on the officials a little bit, getting their attention so he could know what was going on out there, paid off, and they were able to pick up that touchdown with 1:59 left. Extremely important. And here again we see him, Pinella, moving off to his left and sliding over. Got to be careful not to stick that ball out that way. If it gets hit, a lot of times that'll be a fumble.
Well, Eric Nielsen had a nice return to start the game, the 33-yard return that put the Axemen in good field position. And if the ball comes to number 20, no doubt he'll be looking for the same thing. He's been so good at that this year. And Pavlich back there as well for Acadia. The Huskies will kick off from their 45-yard line. 10-7 the score here with 1:59 to go as we take a good look at Eric Nielsen, the Defensive Player of the Year from Alexandria, Ontario, not too far from Cornwall, Ontario. I want to say hi to his family who was looking in today. He said they watch every game he plays, and they've seen him do some pretty special things over his career. A kick away from him this time. It comes to Sean Knox, goes past him, and Pavlich will pick it up. Jordan Pavlich, the talented rookie, brought down by Clovis as the Axemen will go on offense.
Now
to stay tuned During the halftime, Peter Rutgazer will speak with the Monty Mosier. We'll look at Eric Nielsen. I spoke with him last week after the win against St. FX. But John Bloomfield on. We spoke with him earlier this week. And Phil Curry, the executive director of Atlantic University Sport. So first and 10 for Judd and the Axemen.
And now, Dan, I think with 1:55, what St. Mary's will want to do is see what happens here on first down with Acadia, and then take and use their timeouts. I believe they have at least one left, and then keep them down, because you could get a second opportunity here to score if Acadia can't move the ball. For Acadia, you can't jump on the pass right away. You have to look at running that ball. All of the things that teams have done well today have been done methodically, running inside.
So first and 10 for Acadia. They go back to Gillen. And Gillen going with the short sleeves in the snow. He's a tough guy, and he gets about 5 on the carry. And number 1 finding the hole right there, brought down by Matt Fox, who was an all-star for the first time this year for St. Mary's.
And as we look at Chris Judd, I would also like to pass on what you said earlier. It was so neat to see Christian Pike have a great game last week to bring his team to this final against St. Mary's. And unfortunately, he's dealing again with some illness. We wish him all the best. I was really, really pleased for him last week.
Second and 5 with 1:23 and ticking here, and perhaps a time violation for Acadia. The Huskies are pumped up, John. We saw Pinnell on the sidelines a few minutes ago. Their defense looks jacked up too, and something that's been missing, especially in the first 3 quarters of the season.
They are, and at the moment,
time count violation. Acadia lost it down, 3rd down.
At the moment, really relishing a touchdown that put them ahead going into the half if they hold up with 1:22 minutes left. And they may have been set back a little bit by Acadia right off the opening kickoff, marching that ball all the way down the field and putting a touchdown on the board. But they certainly have recovered.
The Jewett Trophy on the line here. Jeff Cummins trying to lead his team to their first conference championship since 1998. The Axemen, the highest scoring team in the conference this year, as Nash will go deep for it.
And what's happened here for the folks at home, you saw Jeff Cummings there asking about it. It is now 3rd down. It was 2nd down. They took a time violation in the last 3 minutes of the half or the game. You lose the down. You could not lose the ball on 3rd down. It would be just penalty yardage. But on 1st or 2nd, you lose it down. So it is 3rd down. Acadia will have to punt the ball away. St. Mary's may get a chance here, put some more points on the board.
Both teams hustling up to get the right people on the field. And a flag on the play as Sharp's kick goes high to about the 50-yard line, 40-yard line, pardon me, and Curtis Nash will pick it up there. No yards call coming as well as Nash dances out of bounds at the 52.
So we have 2 flags down, one back at the line of scrimmage. That could have been an offside by one of the teams, and the second one was a no yards call. If it stands, that is the game that would give St. Mary's further field position. We'll wait here to get the calls as they sort through them.
So both teams, prior to that kick, they had players shuttling on and off the field. Lavoie hustling on to make sure he got on in time for the kick, and Howell coming off for the Huskies. All this with 1:08 to go. As you see, St. Mary's now up 10-7 on the quarterback keep touchdown by Steve Piniella.
And it could be big. It could be that St. Mary's might get enough out of this in order to set themselves up for a field goal. Peter Reedy, the head referee, is talking to both teams. So I would suspect there may be penalties against each of the teams. We'll see if those are offsetting.
And just a couple of minutes ago, you know, I mentioned the enthusiasm the Huskies are showing. Mako and Woodley were jumping around on the field. They're having a good time. I mean, the weather's bad, but it's football weather, and why not get into it, make the most of it, and bring as much enthusiasm as you can to this game.
So they're looking to the bench to get options from their coaching staff, see what they want to take. But you're right, Dan, and it makes it a lot of fun for defense. So both of these penalties against Acadia. So the illegal substitution was the player coming on the field after the linesman had dropped the gates, meaning time was up. You could no longer bring someone on the field. Someone came on.
Illegal
so you were right, shuffling.
On the kicking team, penalty is illegal substitution on the kicking team. No yards on the kicking team, which is declined. Repeat the kick, third down.
That was Maxime Laboy. You saw him dash out there, and as soon as they snapped the ball, the flag was thrown. So both flags, John, as you mentioned, going against the Husky. The Axemen, that'll drive Sharp back further into his own zone at about the 20-yard line. And you got to watch when the ball is wet like this, the interchange between the long snapper and Matt Sharp. First thing he wants to do is make sure he grabs that ball.
Right now, there's not a lot of good things that could happen for Acadia here. They need to get this away. They need to keep St. Mary's around midfield, or they could be scoring again before the half.
And a good snap. Sharp takes his time, and with Kyriakopoulos coming on, gets away a good kick. Driving Nash back, and he lets it go, but Nash falls on it at his 45-yard line.
So just when it looked like it was all St. Mary's, that could have been a big turnover right there. But they will get the ball close to center field, I believe around their own 45-yard line. So in good position with a minute left. If they can make a couple of big plays to perhaps at least go for a field goal. And right now we see as Mullins injured on the plate, looks to be his left arm. We'll wait and see. But that would be an unfortunate injury at this time.
Mullins slow to get up. But the good thing, John, is that both teams are pretty much healthy. And of course, St. Mary's had the week off. Chad Moore, the linebacker, playing with a cast on his wrist. But Acadia got through last week's game with St. F.X. without any major injuries, save for Kristen Pipe's illness. And Judd was slated to start this week anyway. You don't want to see Mullins down if you're one of the Huskies. Take a look at the players of the week offensively and defensively in the conference. Starting with the offensive player of the week, and Jordan Pavlich of Acadia. He had the game-winning touchdown, 16 carries for 84 yards. And defensive all year long, Steve Farrell's done the job at linebacker. 7 solo tackles in a 15-8 victory at St. F.X. So 1st and 10 from the 46, we'll call it, for the Huskies, with a minute to go here in the half. And they hand off to Giacalone, all kinds of room. Giacalone up the middle and to the 50-yard line of Acadia. Al Giacalone now 15 carries for 158 yards this afternoon.
He has certainly been the most difficult back to bring down. And again, being able to keep his balance, not doing his normal form of slicing against the flow. But here's we see him step up through. He starts to turn, but then keeping good wide foot base, able to weave his way through and pick up good yards.
So the clock ticking. And the Huskies are going to keep it with Pinella as he gets a block, and Pinella gets about 9 yards on the carry.
And Steve Farrell stepping up there to bring them down, but we knew earlier in the game that this could be a possibility for either one of these quarterbacks to drop back, look, especially like a pass formation or even a run. But with that line opening it up, the possibility for the quarterback to go was there.
So 2nd and 1, St. Mary's with 1 timeout remaining. And Giacalone appears to have enough for the first down.
Murphy Tarvez coming in off the edge very, very quickly to take away any further gain. But as you said, it was enough for the first down.
And with the 32 seconds to go, as I mentioned, the Huskies with 1 timeout. We'll see if they'll go to the air at some point here in this drive.
And Tarvez being that fast that he was almost there at the handoff, and that would have been disastrous had he been there at the same time the handoff was made.
Murphy Tarvez in his 5th year at North Vancouver, and there goes Giacalone, a flag behind the play. Giacalone slides. Would have enough for the first down, but it's going to be against St. Mary's.
And it was an obvious holding call, as I believe it was McHugh got out there to make his block. He seemed to grab a hold of a jersey and turn him around, so I believe that will be coming back. Unfortunate for St. Mary's, because with the clock winding down, that may have got them in position to try for a single or a field goal.
Peter Eady with the call. The wind started to pick up a little bit here. And it could be a factor. We'll see if the Huskies can move the ball within field goal range as you see the time remaining here in the 2nd quarter.
This has been an excellent played game in the first half in difficult conditions. Should the wind pick up, that may become a serious factor.
So 3 receivers out to each side for Steve Pinella. Plenty of time, and he'll go to the sidelines to Tomiak. He'll get enough to get back to the original line of scrimmage a bit more. We'll stop the clock, as important as anything, as that'll set up a 2nd and about 6 for the Huskies. Tomiak last week, this season, just 6 games played, 11 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown.
And we have not seen him, as you said, a lot. He did show well a little later in the season. But one of the things that happens early, if you get the type of injury that he had early in the season, then it can become chronic. It bothers you for a long, long time. The hamstring and groin area injuries will stay with you for a long time.
So second down for St. Mary's, and Pinella will look to pass again. Swings it out, and Warburton will take it out of bounds and appears to be short.
Let's go! And when we were in Laval, I did get a chance to talk to Mrs. Tanya, and she was mentioning it was one of the worst that they had seen, and the amount of bruising, etc. So it has taken them most of the season to get over that injury.
We'll see what the Huskies plan to do. It is a first down. And Warburton smart enough to know where the flag was and just step out of bounds to stop the clock.
And they can attempt here a field goal, which they're setting up for, and then look for the single if the field goal is wide. Be careful, though. They have to make sure that they cover here on a wide field goal, because as we know, that's an exciting return play. And they have Mr. Nielsen back there, who we know can do the job.
Well, DeVallo's trying to clear a spot for his footing. Lumley will hold. It'll be a 40-yard attempt, we'll call it. 38, we'll say. And the kick is up and wide. Can Nielsen get it out? Quick pursuit downfield by the Huskies, and Nielsen gets through those tackles. Eric Nielsen gets by Danny Lumley, and Nielsen finally brought down as time expires on the first half. You almost call it, John. We've seen him do this a lot. And an exciting first half of football between the Axemen and the Huskies. Acadia trails at 10-7 as we go into the halftime. Be sure to stay tuned for our halftime show. You're watching Atlantic University Sport Football, and it's been a terrific first half as the Huskies, the late touchdown.
And that was an exciting play, as you said, Dan. One more block, and he could have done it.
There's Peter Rutgazer with Jeff Cummins.
Coach, you played this team hard all season long. You're in a football game here. You're losing some of the momentum towards the end of the half. What adjustments do you have to make here going into the third quarter?
We got to stop the running game. You know, in a day like today, all you're going to do on both sides is run the football. And we're running the football right now, not as well as we did in the first quarter. They ran it very well in the second quarter. Gave them the advantage and the momentum going into half.
Okay, Coach, best of luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at the half. It is St. Mary's leading Acadia by 3. We'll return with more Atlantic University Sport Football right after this break.
High-speed internet service for this broadcast is provided by Eastlink. It's that easy.
Welcome back, everybody. We are at the half. St. Mary's leading Acadia by 3 points. We're now joined by Monty Mosher as it's time for the Chronicle Herald report. And Monty, you know, St. Mary's leading this game. Are you surprised, though, the number of points we got on the board with these weather conditions here?
Well, I guess it's kind of, I didn't think they'd be able to drive the football, and a couple of times they did, so that was a real surprise. I think there's only one name you need to know today, and that's Al Giacalone. If he can keep pounding the ball, that's a Western Canada boy who looks like he wants to go back home. So looks like Al Giacalone, he's the man today. Acadia better stop him or it's all over.
What do you want to see Acadia do in this second half here to try to regain the lead?
Well, I think they've got to try to run the football and regain some of the momentum that they had earlier in the game. That's going to be part of it for them. Control the line of scrimmage. I think Coach Cummins talked about that a little bit. But certainly they're going to have to come up with a game plan to stop Giacalone and Mullings a little bit. They're trying to smooth. This is going to be one on the ground now. We know that. So you got to stop Giacalone.
Let's talk about the Week 8 victory by Acadia. How much does that help them going into the second half here, knowing they're down, knowing that they've beaten this team this year?
This game is so far from being over, and how many times have we been at the half in this game the last few years when the game certainly has no longer been in doubt? They know they can win this game. They're one play from proving that. So this is certainly a long way from over, but they will have to, reestablish the run for themselves, get some of that momentum back, and they've got to come up with a way to stop that St. Mary's ground game, which seems to be coming back to life here today.
Who impressed you defensively and offensively in that first half?
Well, I thought there was one play out there. I kept waiting for one of those St. Mary's guys to really step up and make a big defensive play, and I saw Clovis come up on one run play and really make a big stick when Acadia had some early momentum. Those are the kind of guys I expect to really have a big impact in the game like that. And I thought Steve Farrow on the fumble recovery down here, that was anybody's ball, and who came out with it but one of the toughest defenders in the league. So big players make those kind of big plays in big games. So those are the guys I expected to see.
Do you think we'll see a team from the Atlantic University Sport Conference in the Vanier Cup this year?
Well, I think they have certainly an awful big road to run, and they'll go out there as huge underdogs. Having said that, both of these teams are really showing some fight today, so anything's possible.
Okay, Monty, thanks a lot for the information.
Thanks for you guys for all year. Yes. It's been great.
Thank you very much.
All right.
St. Mary's with a 3-point lead going into the second half, and Al Giacalone really setting the tone in the first half. John, we're going to show that big run that he had early in the first quarter as the Eastlink play of the half, but really getting a lot of help from his offensive line here today as well.
He did, and his feet were excellent. He was showing good balance all the way through, and as he worked his way around, he was not doing his normal cut back against the flow, but running it straight, keeping the ball, keeping the balance, doing an excellent job.
And the way that this came about as well, John, it was right after Acadia scored a touchdown, and the Huskies eventually would get a field goal off of that play. They scored late in the half with Steve Pinella keeping for their major to go up 10-7. And look at the yards rushing, I guess, for the Huskies, and that's probably the big story on the halftime stats.
It is, and we said that it would grow, but it grew more on the St. Mary's side of the board as you see the 215 rushing. And they had also Mullins in there as well as Gabe Harvey picking up some yards, but it was Al Giacalone. And it was Nielsen on that first long run tackle that saved the touchdown, and it resulted in the field goal. We see the passing very, very low on the stats, and it will probably remain that. The conditions remain the same as they were at the start of the game. Wind is still not a factor, but certainly the difficulty in throwing is caused by the amount of snow making the ball that slick and the hands that cold. So we can see the running game stay. I thought Jeff Cummings made a good observation, and that was that they needed to stop the running game by St. Mary's. That they ran well in the first quarter, not so well in the second, but St. Mary's did. So they've got to find a way to stop it.
And the weather has pretty much stayed the same from about 11 o'clock this morning. It's come down like this. The wind is, it hasn't been as bad as maybe we thought it might be, and it's been such a factor in probably the last 3 games, but today it's not too bad, but it's more of just the players maintaining their feet and hanging on to that ball as Davalos will kick off from his 35-yard line. Pavlich and Nielsen are back for Acadia.
And as you see Davalos trying to get some snow out of the way, that is the real problem, and that is that the accumulation now is getting such that just by the sheer depth of it, it's making it difficult for footing.
And, of course, footing so key. We'll watch if there's key field goal attempts or even extra point attempts for kickers. They have to have that base, of course, to kick the ball. As Pavlich gets in a good field position, he's out over the 35 into about the 41, where Chris Judd will lead the offense for Acadia here in the second half. And Acadia, they'll look to do what they did in their first possession, the first quarter, when they drove it upfield for the eventual major by Pavlich.
And Chris Judd did not carry the ball in the first and second quarter. I think that's going to be a necessity in the third and fourth. He's going to have to pick his spots, but they may wish to put it in there as a pre-called play and allow him to pick up, as did Pinella on a couple of plays, pick up some yardage to help that offense.
Judge is 2 of 5 for 20 yards in the first half. Backfield in motion. 3 Axemen start running, and the pitch goes to Mike Gillen, who gets out to about first down. He should have enough in the first half. 7 carries for 57 yards with a long of 21.
And the reason he was able to do that, again, the outside receiver, the slot and flanker come down to the inside in front of your screen, and here that gives him the room to the outside. What has to happen on defense is as soon as you see that slot and the flanker, wide receiver come down inside, the linebacker has to adjust out there quickly, and the halfback to that side has to step up.
So they're going to measure it, it would appear. So the Huskies looking for their 6th straight conference championship here today. That would increase the record set last year of 5. A good look at the spot right between the feet of Peter Eadie.
And although it looked obvious to be short, I really appreciate the officials doing this because it allows the team to know where the ball is. Even if it's not within a yard, it still gives them an opportunity to know where it is, where the lines markers are not showing up underneath the snow.
So 2nd and short for the Axemen. Again, they went to the ground successfully on their first possession in the first half. Pavlich 4 carries, just 5 yards. So Gillen coming through out of the backfield so far today for Acadia. Coming off the 15-8 win last week against St. X on home turf. They beat St. Mary's 25-24 in week 8, but none of that matters now. Jeff Cummins hoping for the victory today. The winner will go out west to play the victor of Canada West, and we'll show you some of those score updates as those games get underway across the country today. 2nd and 1.5 we'll call it. And the inside handoff to Lavoie, who hurls forward.
So Lavoie getting a good run at the line of scrimmage, and that is a good play. Yes, it's difficult for the quarterbacks to get footing, but there's a trade-off. When you turn to hand that ball off, that's where the exchange could have problems on a slippery day. With the quarterback, as we saw Pinella in the first half, keeping it, there's less risk as far as the handoff. He just can't get as much steam going at straight ahead.
Judge is going through the air 5 times between the 2 quarterbacks. There's 10 passes thrown here this afternoon as the weather would dictate. See Barungi run just off of your screen. He was the recipient of the 2 passes from Judd, the 2 completions, as Chris Judd kicks the snow out of his cleats and runs the offense on first down. And Gillen with a wide hold right up the middle. He goes right over top of Nash and is inside St. Mary's territory. He's to about the 40-yard line, we'll say.
And once again, to recap for the folks at home, the reason that both teams, Jack Loney and now we see Gillen having success, watch straight ahead. These offensive linemen have to get bodies on body. That's all they have to do. The defense can't really move laterally to right or left because of the footing. They're trying to take people on. And so really you're screen blocking as opposed to having to blow anybody out of there. And you can help yourself by widening your splits on offense a little bit, and the defensive guys may move out with you.
Kiriakopoulos also in to help out on the tackle. 1st and 10 once again for Acadia. The pitch to Gillen, who cuts back to the middle. Metledge gets a hold of his right ankle and takes him down, but not before Gillen can pick up about 4 on the play.
So not going out real wide because it was taken care of, but Lavoie there cutting down the man at the end of the line of scrimmage so Gillen could cut it back inside.
Here's a look at Judd's numbers from the first half. And showing good composure all year, number 5, John. He impressed us from week 1 as coming in as a rookie to this conference and was never appeared to be in over his head at all this season in any of the games that we've seen. Very mobile quarterback and a bright future for Acadia. It's going to be 2nd and 7. Judd looks to the air. Barungi the crossing pattern and through his hands as on the coverage was Andre Knights.
And once again the pass was there but thrown with enough on it that it made it extremely difficult. We know that Chris Judd is a very good passer and he throws the ball on the string and it gets there in a hurry. On a day like today that makes it very difficult for receivers. Barungi is there coming on a little bit of a slant. A difficult pattern at any time made more difficult by the weather conditions today.
Matt Sharp will come on for the punt. Woodley will go back near his goal line as we show you some of the scores around the nation. Montreal leading Laval 6-2. A couple of well-balanced teams right there. McMaster up on Laurier. Not sure if Lumsden is playing today for Mac. And a later start, Saskatchewan and Alberta for the Hardy Cup. The winner of this game will play the winner of that game. Ball goes out near about the 14-yard line where the Huskies will take over.
And I would say that the McMaster-Laurier score is a bit of a shock for me at the start, as I felt that Laurier could handle that team fairly handily. Even though it was closer in the early part of the season, Laurier did win. So it'll be interesting to see if they can prevail.
There's a look at the numbers for Pinella in the first half. Nice percentage as far as completions go, but low numbers across the board. As again, we talked about Jack Loney, 17 carries for 174 yards in the first half. And he's back in there at tailback, number 10. You see him to the right of your screen. He gets the handoff, and Jack Loney with those baby steps working well for him today as he is able to keep his feet and a good positive gain on first down. A reminder to tune in every Monday night on Eastlink Television for Harv Sportsland. Harv Stewart, Cecil Wright, Brad McCon. It is on at 8 o'clock, and they welcome your phone calls. That's Harv Sportsland on Eastlink Television, Mondays at 8.
So on that first down, St. Mary's offensive line is giving us a natural split that is fairly wide. Normally it's going to be around 2 feet, and they're splitting it out. That tells me they want to run inside, so they want to naturally spread that defensive line out. They did a good job on the first down.
So 1st and 10 again. Why not go back to Jack Loney, who gets a block from Mako, and things open up for Jack Loney, and Philbrick maybe with a saving tackle as he pulled him down, not before Jack Loney could get another healthy gain on a first down.
So how do you attack this? Well, we know that Coach Cummings wanted to work on it in the half, and as you see here, it's not going to be by standing back and allowing them to come to you. As you see here, they're going to have to start taking some risk factors here and attacking this offense and dictating what they can do. Right now, they're catching these blockers, and that's just enough to let Jack Loney get loose. He's using great footwork as he comes down. As you call them baby steps, and that actually is what they are. It means not going so much ahead as keeping my lateral balance so I can move ahead without falling.
Markin injured on the play. Great look at that replay from Mike Collier up on the scissor lift way up there in the elements. Our thanks to him and all the Eastlink crew today working hard out here. We're glad you could join us for this conference championship game as fifth-year quarterback Steve Piniella has his Huskies out ahead 10-7. And you wonder if the Huskies can keep running the ball like this, it has to tire out the Acadia defense as well.
It does, and this is an important series because if St. Mary's can move this ball down where they had poor field position that Acadia got by moving it down, unable to score, however, St. Mary's can move it back and score. Acadia may be in serious trouble here.
So Markin slowly comes off the field, and the Huskies with 2 straight first downs. And will they just keep going back to Jack Loney, or maybe fake to him and go through the air to someone else? We'll see. They are at their 37-yard line, the Huskies. Acadia showing blitz. Side to Jack Loney. And a nice tackle on the play by Tarbez, who got through and brought down number 10, Jack Loney.
So we saw Acadia countering that by bringing 7 and 8 people up in the line of scrimmage, as I said, and shooting after and starting to dictate to the offense. That will force St. Mary's, if they want to take advantage of that, to have to go to the air, because that's how you will beat that. It was interesting there. Gabe Harvey was set in a wingback position, and just prior to the snap of the ball, he fell forward on his hand in his 3-point position and came back. He can go out of it because he's at the end. However, his movement towards the line of scrimmage could have been interpreted trying to draw the defense offside. It was not called. He had just lost his balance.
A gain of 2 for Jack Loney. It's 2nd and 8. Will we see Les Mullings? He was injured near the end of the first half. Jack Loney not enough for the first down. Let's go down to Peter Rutgazer with a special guest.
Thank you very much, Dan. We're with Andrew Gallant, receiver with St. FX Axemen. And Andrew, you finished your CIS career now. What are your plans for next season?
Well, I may go back to Calgary, or I might try the Europe Leagues just there. It's free traveling, good experience, and I'm still young, so no need to get anything too serious yet.
What was that experience like last year going to the Calgary Stampeder camp?
Well, it was good and bad. I got hurt early on, so it was frustrating that way, but I learned a lot from all the guys there. A lot of receiver stuff, how to run patterns, how to block better.
Talk about this game here. Give me your thoughts after 2 quarters of football.
Well, St. Mary's got that touchdown late. It's going to be a close game to the end. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm hoping Acadia pulls it off. They got a good team. They'll look good out of conference.
Okay, Andrew, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Dan.
Well, my question answered. Mullings down there. First man in on special teams with the tackle on Gillen, who went to his knees and was able to get out to about the 33-yard line. And good to hear from Andrew Gallant, a fine receiver in his time with St. FX.
He was, and I think he'll enjoy the experience in Europe if he chooses to go that route. And we were talking about Jeff Mullins earlier and his possibility of going to pros. And his ability and his good play on special teams makes him a shoo-in. And I think he'll go very high. And as a fullback, yes, because of his size, great blocking ability. So I think he will be shoo-in to go very, very high in the draft.
The offensive line for Acadia digging into the snow to try and get their footing as Gillen, the lone setback, 3 receivers to the left for Chris Judd. On first down, the handoff is to Gillen, who gets low, shuts his way out for about first down yardage. We just kept moving forward. A nice run by Mike Gillen. We'll take a look now at our turf trivia question for today. This year, the 45th anniversary of the Jewett Trophy. All 4 conference schools have won since 1960. Rank the schools by number of wins. Question brought to you by Eastlink Television. Over 44 years, St. Mary's 19, X 10, Acadia 9, Mount A 4, and UNB, of course, no longer existing. That program with 2. So St. Mary's looking for their 20th here today. Glad that you could play along all year long at Turf Trivia. And it is first down after that carry by Gillen from the 44. A handoff goes to Lavoie, who shoves forward for about 6 yards. And looks like Cummins is going with Gillen, John, in these conditions. Pavlich in the first half, 4 carries for 5 yards, but Gillen seems to be the more sure-footed of the 2 running backs.
He is, and right now, almost on cue, the wind is picking up and swirling a little bit. It's going to become more and more important, as they have from the very start shown us that passing is really non-existent, and the running game is becoming that important. And it's going to be that type of smash-mouth football that you have to be able to move it inside and move it down to get not only field position, but a chance to put points on the board. It's only 3 separating the 2 teams, but it's a big 3.
2nd and 4 for Acadia. Right back to Gillen they go, and Mike Gillen, enough for the first down. He's brought down, but not until he could get that key yardage. First in on the tackle, Tyler Powell, the 3rd-year linebacker out of North Vancouver.
And as we saw him going down, we saw him trying to reach forward to make sure that ball would be marked. It's just not a good thing to do today, because you're going to stick it out at the wrong time and it's going to get knocked out of your hands. All of the running backs have showed great skill today in putting both arms on that ball as soon as they're going to make any kind of contact. So we've had very, very few, knock on wood, very few turnovers inside. I think we had 1 off a pass reception, and that was about it.
So the Axemen with a key drive here to get things underway for themselves in the second half. 1st and 10. Gillen again, and this time he is hammered quickly. Burris, the all-star at defensive line. He shows you why right there.
He was shooting inside, coming in a hurry, and Judd had some problems with the handoff. And as he fumbled to try to get the ball ready for the handoff, Burris shows up. Watch here, a little trouble right there, just throws the timing off a little bit as Gillen runs into Burris in a hurry, and luckily they were able to hold on to that ball.
Burris in his 3rd year out of Scarborough, 5'11", 280 pounds. So 2nd and long. Chris Judd will look to pass this time. Plenty of receivers to his right. And Price has it go through his arms. Tough to pick that one up off the turf, and the Axemen will be forced to punt. So the Huskies finally stopping the Axemen drive here with 7:03 to go in the 3rd quarter.
That's the type of play that I would like to see Judd take off and run. His receivers were closely covered downfield. They were bringing a lot of people inside. So had he managed, and he did get outside, had he managed to turn it upfield, he may have been able to pick up first down yardage.
Nash will go back, as he has done all day. Deep for St. Mary's. He's a lone man back there, and Sharp to punt. Sharp lining up at about his 42-yard line. Snap will come from midfield. And Matt Sharp almost has it blocked by Mullings. He just steamrolled his blocker on the play. His would-be blocker is Nash. Able to escape momentarily, and Curtis Nash, if he can get outside, he has great speed. Nash being tracked down by Nielsen, and Nash gets all the way out over the 45-yard line. His best return of the day.
Ben Nash doing a great job again. Stay on your feet, roll off the blocks, you'll be in good shape.
Al Giacaloni's been terrific today for St. Mary's. Let's take you field side for some of the sights and sounds of number 10 for the Huskies. Giacaloni, 174 yards in the first half, and he's going to go right back at it. Spins off a tackle, but now Tremaine Thomas brings him down. Good pressure early by Steve Farrell.
Steve Farrell and the rest of the linebacking crew backing up the defensive line, and both teams are getting the message. This is what's going to happen. We've got to get people up, and we've got to get them coming in a hurry. So they take that away, and that little gain, anything, and maybe a slight loss, it'll be second and a little bit better than 10. So Acadia's got to continue to do this to force St. Mary's into a situation where they may have to go to the air.
Huskies up by 3, as you see. So second and long, they're going to say it's a loss of 2. Second and 12, we'll call it. Pinella in the shotgun. And getting pressure, Pinella pulls it down, and he's going to take off. He has a chance to get enough for a first down, and does. Pinella finally knocked down by Smith. Steve Pinella, he can do that when he has to, and leading the Huskies to move the chains. Well, join host Tanya St. Pierre. We'll tell you about that in just a minute as we take a look at Pinella, but a good play here, John.
Watch Al Giacalone as Pinella takes off here. Downfield, Al Giacalone is in a stock block. He's holding. Right there you see him. He held it that long to keep the defender, Smith, off of Pinella, and he was able to pick up the first down. Excellent job by Al Giacalone, stock blocking downfield.
The snow lightening a little bit, it would appear, and Pinella goes to the air and through the arms of Tomiak, who gets a helmet in the back for his trouble from Reed Smith. Well, join Eastlink Magazine host Tanya St. Pierre as Eastlink Television takes its own unique look at the special people and places that make our communities. That's Eastlink Magazine, Sundays and Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. Not a bad idea, John, to go to the air there. No doubt the Axemen perhaps expecting a run in that play as they've seen so many of them here today.
An excellent changeup because, you know, barring anything, go back to your running game, it's there. But you can catch them, and the backer sneaking up as Acadia has to do, really, to take it away.
It's a second down from the 47, the fake to Giacalone, and throwing that away is Pinellas. He had pressure on him. Mako, the closest to the ball, but he was probably 15 yards away from it. Jeff Cummins not happy in the sidelines.
Well, what he's pleading his case is that he's pleading offensive pass interference, and the ball was really overthrown high in the air. But what happened was Mako ran into the Acadia player and then kind of held on to him, moved him around so he wouldn't get to the ball. But it was so thrown so high, no one was going to catch it, the defender nor the receiver. So it's really a good non-call.
Pinella back to the sidelines, and Danny Lumley on to punt. Gillen and Black are deep for Acadia. Lumley jumps at about his 38, and we know Lumley can run with it. He's going to try for the first down. Knox in pursuit, and he's going to take him down short of the yardage. And the Axemen will take over from about their own 41-yard line.
And Blake Neal right there can't believe it because he's saying, my God, kick that ball. You had time after you got away. If you're going to go upfield and make it, and Lumley seemed to slow down a little bit. A tremendous job by Acadia defense to get a hand on him and just pull him down at the last possible second. And that is not a super turnover, but it's a big one for Acadia because they were given and given a little bit, and they would have been in poor field position. And we see a little change in the weather going on here right now. It gusted a little bit. It stopped. There's hardly any snow falling. One wonders if it's now going to start turning towards rain.
You do get that feeling, don't you? The temperature going up a little bit. You think it's starting from the 35, the Axemen offense, and they just get a big push from the offensive line. A gain of about 5.5 or 6 for Mike Gillen, who's been such a workhorse here this afternoon for the Axemen.
So we see Knight's getting a little bit pesky down there. He's going to have to stay under control. They don't need any penalties here.
Gillen getting set to go back to the line and take a look at that's the play right there as we saw Tomiak take it from Reed Smith, and that stretches the old spine. Well, Tomiak with 1 reception here today. So second down, Judd over the middle and below Matt Clough, who was open on the play, but a little bit of miscommunication.
He was wide open, and Judd was still falling back as he tried to get that ball away.
Clough's a good option, John. He's a big target. We've talked about that a lot this year. He hasn't been used all that much in a passing situation, but he's a nice option to have coming off his tight end position.
And Judd really has to step in there and throw that with some authority inside. We saw him throwing it outside with some authority, but that one did not have enough stuff on it.
So Sharp will punt from about his 35 at the time he lets it go. Nash had a good return last time for the Huskies. And the ball will go near the out-of-bounds line, and a good tackle on the play as the feet taken right out from Curtis Nash by Eric Nielsen, who's quickly downfield for the Acadia Axemen, and this thing's starting to heat up a little bit as words between some of the players. We want to remind you of our next sports broadcast. It's a Rogers feed. We'll be taking from New Brunswick, Halifax, Mooseheads, Moncton Wildcats next Friday at 7 o'clock. Be sure to tune in for that one. So a game of field position here in the second half as the Huskies lead at 10-7, 3:03 remaining in the third quarter.
And both coaches having to talk to their players to settle them down here, make them realize the largeness of the game and the difficulty in getting upset and taking bad penalties at this time really hurts the team's effort.
First and 10 from the 33 to pitch to Loney, and he is wrapped up as Tarvez able to turn and get back downfield along with Markin to make the tackle.
Sliding in behind the blocking, and it is in a timely fashion because had he gotten some time and get his feet working, we know he can move it upfield.
That's a gain of about 2 for Al Loney.
So right here we see Tarvez come sliding down the line, doing a great job to wrap him up.
Tarvez 6 tackles in the first half, and Acadia led the first half. Matt Philbrick with 9 tackles. That's a good number for an entire game. Is number 25, the defensive back for the Axemen, doing a nice job in the first half. Pinella back to the air with plenty of time, just dumps it off to Loney, and Al Loney gets knocked down. It would appear he does have enough for the first down. Derek Smith with the tackle for the Axemen.
A very smart play here, running the center draw, allowing that defense to get upfield and get pressure on Pinella. The lineman will hit, restart, then let him go, then sneak in behind. There's Loney. You see the lineman in front of him throwing the block on Farrell, getting him downfield, picking up the first down. Good-looking play on offense.
Steve Pinella now 5 for 7 this afternoon. He's run the ball well, too. He has a rushing touchdown here today, and they go inside as it's Harvey trying to spin off a tackle and might have ground out a couple yards in that play.
Farrell stepping up, and we saw a lot of movement along the Acadia line, and what that was, trying to jump backwards to the outside. And although you can get caught when you're moving, the advantage to it was that the offensive blockers couldn't locate their blocks, and it really nullified that run at the point of attack.
And with such an emphasis on the running game, time going by in a hurry here this afternoon as we're inside 2 minutes to go, as you see, 1:17 and ticking here in the third quarter. 2nd and 7 for St. Mary's. The pitch comes to Loney, able to cut in and buy himself some time. It's tough to track him down. Al Loney turns on the Jets and gets into Acadia territory. A nice block on Farrell as Loney turned it upfield.
And Tomiuk returning the favor early. We saw Al Loney doing it for Pinella, and Tomiuk was able to get a hold of Farrell, and that extended the run by a good 10 or 15 yards. Now Acadia's got everybody up here, and this is the play right here. This tackler has to make the play. He doesn't, and so Loney gets to the outfeed. There we see Farrell. Watch the block coming up. Boom, right there by Tomiuk. So a good job there. Good offensive play. The last 2 or 3 by St. Mary's, taking advantage of this defensive set.
Loney pushed out of bounds by Reed Smith. 1st and 10 from the Acadia 40-yard line. Loney now 24 carries for 234 yards, but Mullins this time steamrolls Smith and is all the way inside the 20-yard line, where he is finally brought down by Sean Knox.
Wow, he's just rambling, he's jumping, and he's hurtling, he's picking up the yards straight ahead, and he was not going to be taken down. This offense right now is rolling. As we watch the replay here, watch the effort put in here by Mullins. They're jumping once. Now he sees open territory. Boom, takes on Boom. He jumps over him again. He's going, wraps up, almost loses the ball there on the play by Acadia by Sean Knox. He holds on to it, and they're in good position here.
27-yard carry for Mullins, and how about that hole opened up by Eric Gibbs in the offensive line as they look for some more with Harvey that time on the ground. And Thunder and Lightning may be taking a little while to get going this season, but they're working here in the snow this afternoon.
They are, and now the Acadia defense picking up on that play. We see Tarvez slow getting up off the turf. They've got to really take it to St. Mary's here. Hold them to a field goal if they can. If they put a touchdown on the board here as the quarter winds down, they're going to be very difficult to catch in the fourth.
So the ball at the, we say the 10-yard line. It'll be 2nd and about 4. Last play of the third quarter. Loney behind his offensive line, and Al Loney still on his feet. Touchdown Huskies. Talk about the job the O-line has done here today, John, and they just wouldn't be denied on that play.
They would not, and now Giacalone, a very, very smart game he's playing today, not only with his feet, but here keeping his body in behind the big men and then surfing, as we call it here, just surfing with them and carrying and pushing, and this is the type of thing you've got to cut them down. You can't stand up, and he's over the goal line. And St. Mary's is on the board at the last play. They'll get to kick the extra point before the quarter ends.
There you hear the cannon go off, and a big drive for the Huskies. They started well within their own territory, kept going to the ground, and Giacalone with his first touchdown of the game. And that maroon and white squad fired up here as DeValis comes on for the extra point. Loney to hold. The extra point is good, and Al Giacalone's touchdown, giving the Huskies the 10-point lead after 3 quarters of play. Stay tuned. It should be a good fourth. You're watching the UFC Championship game on Eastlink Television. That last Huskies possession scoring drive, 7 plays for 78 yards. They took 3:01 off the clock, and Al Giacalone saving his best for the last conference game of the season. Puts his team up by 10. 15 minutes to go.
If you're going to peak, this is the time to peak in this offense, and that last drive showed us a lot of things. Out of Pinella, out of Mullins, out of Giacalone.
DeValis will drive Nielsen back as he slides and takes it upfield. Eric Nielsen. Couple of flags on the play. Nielsen running a long distance to try and get wide, and we'll see what the call is.
The flag came in an area where there was illegal blocking, or it could have easily been, so we'll wait for the call. But as I was saying, Dan, I was very, very impressed with that offensive drive by St. Mary's. Pinella got blocking downfield, a great stock block by Giacalone, and he could pick up first down. Giacalone got a nice block off of Tomiuk. He was able to pick up yardage. Mullins was able to hit the middle of the field, ramble, jump, and get downfield. Offensive linemen standing defensive players up and pushing them back. Altogether, the best offensive drive I've seen from St. Mary's this year, and maybe one of the best of the season. Now the call there is blocking below the waist. You cannot, on a special teams play, kickoff, etc., or a turnover, block below the waist. And that was the call that was made. Somebody went in and blocked across the knees or lower than the knees and got called. And that's 15 yards, so it takes it way back. So Acadia will be deep in their own end.
Now the Axemen only trail by 10. You get the feeling they have to get something going right here. At least move the ball into Huskies territory and try and get something positive going. As they trail by 10, just 10 seconds into the fourth quarter.
We know that excitement is contagious, and it will be passed from the offense to this St. Mary's defense. So right now you are correct. Acadia, if nothing else, must get this ball out of deep in their own end. If they could pick up points, that would be great, but the first task at hand is to gain back some field advantage here.
They'll start deep inside their own territory. We'll say it's the 15-yard line. It's impossible to see those lines. And Judd will go up top. James Price with his first reception of the game. He gets about 5 on the catch. We'll show you the stats through 3 quarters of play here between the Huskies and the Acadia Axemen. Look at that differential in rushing and total yards.
That is huge. That 408 is huge, and that is what's making the difference on the scoreboard. Earlier in the game at the start in the first quarter, we didn't see it translate. Now we see it translating to a 17-7 lead. So 343 to 130 rushing. That is very one-sided at this point.
So time of possession just slightly in favor of the Huskies as Gillen carries that ball. Would have thought it would have been a little more of a difference. The Huskies 23-42 to 21-18 for Acadia through 3 quarters of play.
So Acadia starting to do what they need to do here, picking up their second first down, handing off to Gillen off the right side off tackle. They're going to need to continue to do this.
Nice gain by Mike Gillen. Tremendous effort from number 1 here today. Three receivers to the left for Chris Judd. See Black at the top of the screen, and it goes in his direction. Mike Black tackled immediately Nice play by Curtis Nash, and not sure if he even got back to the line of scrimmage on that one.
I don't believe he did. It was short is correct. He got up there in a hurry and make sure he took the legs out from underneath him. So what Acadia is trying to do is spread that defense, see if they can get some one-on-one pick-up yards. And here's we'll see Judd throw it out to the side. Black gets hit, and so does Judd, trying to get that ball away. With big number 59 moving in there right away, Tim Burris.
Black's first reception of the game. And that'll be second down. They're going to say that he got back to the line of scrimmage. Look at Maxime Lavoie in the foreground there, number 39 for Acadia. He's not on the field now as they're in a passing situation. The Huskies bringing 7 men to the line. Judd out of the gun, crossing pattern, a nice pass to Black, who stays on his feet. Mike Black all the way out to midfield. Clovis back with a tackle at the Huskies. I will say the Acadia 54. It's nice footwork by Mike Black.
And Acadia responding. Mike Black coming across on a crossing pattern. Judd picked him up in full stride. He was able to avoid, and we saw the difficulty there from defensive players trying to step forward and make the tackle. And that was really an excellent play. They needed that to move the sticks. Being down 10 points, they can't leave anything until too late. They have to answer the call right now, and they're doing it.
This Acadia team is one of great heart. They showed it in the final regular season game here. And they're not going to lay down in the fourth quarter as they trail it by 10 with 12 and a half to go. First and 10 from the 55-yard line. Judd will pass again. And Black falling down, making the catch. He looked right into his number 3, and another first down for Acadia.
Now it's going to be a case of St. Mary's can't panic. They can stay in their run defense here just because Acadia's passing. They've got to force it. More bad things can happen. On this one, they do good things, and that is Black gets into a position where he can hold on to the ball. But for St. Mary's, you would much prefer to force them into pass rather than giving something up inside to take that away and then giving up the run.
Nice body control by Black. He got down to a knee but was able to reach back and make that catch. Conference leading receiver during the regular season after moving out of the running back position from last year. So the ball at the Huskies 43. And why not keep going to the air? James Price gets walloped by Clovis. A pickup of about 7 on the play. And Price with his second catch of this drive.
And right now, Acadia beginning to click on the passing game. And the defenders have to give their receivers some cushion here. They cannot get up and force them real quick because of the bad footing. The cushion is just enough to allow Price. But we see some big hits coming very, very quickly there from Sebastian Clovis and from Brooksbright.
7 of 13 for 70 yards now for Chris Judd. 2nd and 3. Fans making a lot of noise here. As I mentioned in the first half, a good Acadia contingent today. Gillen trying to move the pile. Here's he'll be a bit short. We'll see where they spot that ball. They needed 3.
It looks to be that it will be close, but it definitely, for the distance away, is 3-down football here. I don't believe you gain a lot by punting away. Perhaps a field goal may be just out of distance. So if they are at all close within a yard or yard and a half, I believe they'll go for it.
Well, they've already gone for it on 3rd down today. They're 1 of 1 on 3rd down conversions. That was way back in their first drive in the first quarter, and they're going to try for it again. They need about a yard, John. See what they do. Will Judd keep it? They bring Lavoie back into the game at fullback.
Last time they handed off to Lavoie, and there was difficulty in the exchange. We'll see what they do here.
Some early movement, flags everywhere.
I must say that the movement did come from the defensive line. I didn't see anything on offense. So it could be a defensive offside, and that would give them the yardage they need for a first down plus, and that's the signal from referee Peter Eady.
Well, the best 3rd down attempt you making a play like that is the one you don't have to. Sticks are moved. We'll see who the first player to move is. It looked like McDonald, and you see Fox go up over top.
It just took one along the line, and that was one of the down linemen inside who made the move, and then Fox standing behind him thought that was it, and he came up over the top.
So the ball at the Huskies 29, the Axemen answering after a touchdown by the Huskies with a terrific drive here. Chris Judd, success passing this possession, and too high for Barungi, but it's caught by Price. And they're going to say it's not. They're going to say incomplete. Thought he had it long enough, John. It would have been a circus catch.
It would have indeed, and he did do a great job in keeping his eye. These receivers today amaze me. They have turned and they've picked up the ball right away, and it comes off a tip, and he almost makes the catch. Here's we see Judd stepping back, and he can't find somebody open to his right. He turns back to his left, and here the throw is high, and we see the tip by Barungi, and there we see Price coming in and almost making the catch. We were covered up here to see whether or not he hit it at, he lost it after he hit the ground, but certainly a great attempt.
And Barungi's 6'4", used every inch of it there to just get a hand on that. 2nd and 10 for Acadia. Judd finding his groove here in the 4th quarter. He'll look to his right. And drills it, intended for Noel over his head. Watson on the coverage for the Huskies, and that'll bring up 3rd down for Acadia.
And once again, it was set up that he could go if he wanted to go. He had the blockers out there. So if they're watching from up top, the people scouting on the roof, they will notice this. And watch as he rolls to his right here. Really, there's nobody that's going to hurt him for about 10 yards. Here the throw, a little bit high. Barungi can't climb that ladder and pull it down.
Now the pass intended for Barungi, the play before that a bit high as well. So Acadia at least moving the ball downfield when they really had to. They still trail it by 10 with 9.5 to go.
So they do need a field goal. Now this could be a fake. We've got to keep our eyes open there. It is a long one. It looks to be about 37 yards long. A difficult one.
Turner comes on, his longest this season, 43 yards, but the field conditions, no doubt, not as good right now as they were when he kicked that 43-yarder. Just a low kick along the turf. Nash is going to take it out, so the Axemen won't get a point off of that. And Nash has had a good game this afternoon, able to bring it out to about the 15.
And that's a good play because that will automatically gain them to 20, and it will keep the 10-point spread. So they're going to need to have at least 2 scores in order to get ahead.
Our Sportsland is one of our favorite shows here on Eastlink Television. Tune in Monday. No doubt they'll talk about this conference championship game. Cecil Wright and Brad McCon are his cohorts. It's our Sportsland Mondays at 8 on Eastlink Television.
And one of the problems now is that Acadia is fighting the clock, as we said, in the 4th quarter with a 10-point lead. They needed to do something on that drive. They certainly accomplished a lot field position-wise, but they needed to get points because with less than 9 minutes left and a 10-point spread, they ate up a lot of clock.
Yeah, that field goal would have brought it to within a major, and the Huskies are going to try and grind it out as Giacalone slipped, but is able to get a couple of yards. Let's go down to Peter Rutgazer.
A lot of the St. Mary's players very happy with that last touchdown, but the one person who was probably the happiest of the bunch was offensive coordinator Steve Samuri, who was running around, jumping, high-fiving everybody, saying that's Huskies football. The other thing he's been preaching to his players is ball security. That's the phrase he's been using all afternoon long. Ball security, and that's going to be so important here in this 4th quarter. Dan, back to you.
And both teams have done a good job of that today, hanging on to the ball. So the Huskies will have a 2nd and about 6. Back to Giacalone. Piniella fell down, and Giacalone shoving Farrell forward as both the last 2 plays from scrimmage for St. Mary's are almost lucky to get that transaction off as Piniella falling in the snow.
Well, we'll see a lot of Acadia players up on the line. And yes, you're correct. He's had difficulty all day. We mentioned it earlier. Here, he's going to be close. The difficulty now is if you go for it and don't make it, you've automatically given up field position, whereby you might pick up something if you punt. But they are going to get a measurement, and as I said earlier, this is good. We know it's probably short, but it's going to give both teams an opportunity to see how much short, because there are no lines really showing on the field, other than a few that they're plowing off on a regular basis.
Well, the winner will advance to take on the victor of Canada West, and it's a 1st down for the Huskies, and a key one as it's inside 8 minutes. They'll go and play the Mitchell Bowl. Now Giacalone, 27 carries, 253 yards here today and a touchdown.
So it showed a lot better on the field than it did from up here. It looked like he was at least a yard short, but they're working on the chain here. We'll wait until they get the proper measurement in. But if it looked the first time, and it does look again like it may be a 1st down.
Pinella indicates first down, and indeed it is. And the longer they can get first downs, the more they can carry that ball successfully, the more time becomes an enemy to the Acadia Axemen.
And we see their coach Cummings previous to that, Steve Pinella, and I can understand why he was so excited, because that was really an exciting drive. And for an offensive coordinator to see your plays click one after another as they did on that drive was tremendously exciting.
Huskies first down from their 31. Loney again looking for a block, and this time Tarvez, who's been terrific today, getting through for the tackle. Loney may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage.
And right now Acadia has nothing to lose. They've got to put everybody up on the line, and they've got to go after it. Yes, it is dangerous if St. Mary's goes to the air, but the chances are they may not. It would be tremendously risky. They don't need to turn it over. They just need to run time off the clock. But Acadia, on the other hand, has to get up there and take it away. They've got to play a high-risk defense right now.
So 2nd and 10 for St. Mary's. No gain on that carry by Loney. Pinella out of the shotgun. He has 3 receivers to his left, and Mako set out to his far right. Flag on the play is a bit of a stutter on the snap. Tomiak gets out to the 45. Will it come back?
I believe so. I believe and the preliminary signal supports my thoughts, and that was there was movement somewhere along the line. It looked like the center moved to look at somebody. When he moved, it set one of his linemen off, and that's the signal. And that was a beautiful catch by Tomiak and picked up first down yardage, and it's coming back. That really hurts.
There's the call from Peter Eady.
Some movement along the line of scrimmage definitely threw somewhat off the center turn, and we'll look at the replay here where you see the center turn and then back, and that's what threw another one of the linemen off.
McHugh, the center. Pinella now 7 completions for 60 yards. He's going to go back up top. And the catch made by Fraser O'Neill is first of the afternoon. It's not. Pardon me. He thought he had it, but he did not. And he's going to put up a stink about that one.
Well, I'd like to get the call from the linesman. I don't want to get the call from the downfield judge. He was not in position. As we'll watch it over in the sideline, now, if he sees it bounce, that's fine. The linesman may have been blocked out. Here, as we see the throw go up, and there we see, oh, it is down. Good call, and we see why it was made downfield, because the back is to the line judge. He could not see it. Excellent call by the official. So what looked to be like a poor call, because it was an official away from the ball, the official away from the ball comes to the help and makes the proper call. Excellent.
Now, Fraser O'Neill this year averaging 9.8 yards per catch. Last year, 22.8 yards per catch. Now in his 2nd season with the Huskies, an all-star receiver this year. It's a good boot by Lumley. He'll drive Gillen back a good 15 yards in the play. Gillen tries to get it started upfield, and he's out over the 35-yard line to about the 36 for the Axemen will scrimmage.
And he holds onto the ball, and that's going to be extremely important here. And right now, they're going to need to march it down, put some points on the board if they need, and they will need a second score. They need to save that for the last 3 minutes, which lasts for a long time in Canadian football. And I believe they're going to start around, as I think you said, your 46-yard line here. So that's not bad field position, but they cannot take the amount of time off the clock they did last drive. They need to score probably within the next 3 minutes.
Well, this veteran Axemen team is going to have to dig deep right now as they're up against it, trailing by 10 as we near 6 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. 3 receivers to the left for Judd, and they go with the handoff to Gillen, and he's brought down immediately with penetration. Howell is their first for the Huskies. Philip Howell, the 6'4", 230-pound defensive end with the tackle.
A sprint draw, but what happened was Gillen ran it back to the inside. If he had to stay closer out to this side where the hole was, right there, you see the block coming, and he took it back too far to the inside. A sprint draw is where the quarterback sprints out, hands the ball off to the back, stationed out there. And if he had it ran straight ahead, he would have been in better shape.
So, John, 2nd and about 13. Do they go for it? We'll see if it gets to 3rd down, depending what the Axemen can do here. With just 5:20 to go in the 4th quarter, they need to get something happening right now. Chris Judd over to Ivan Barungi, and he is wrapped up. A good play by Metledge, who wasn't going to let him get anywhere.
And with 10 yards to go, I think it's a little bit too much to go on third down. With this much time, you could get a turnover off the punt. I think you've got to punt the ball away, which I believe they're going to do. Here we see the handoff.
Those battles just to show some of the good work today by the Huskies defense. Hit by Burris on Gillen a little earlier. Burris again, you have to credit Gillen. Boy, he just keeps coming back for more. He's one tough running back. As Sharp indeed will go back to punt. Under 5 minutes to go now.
And the St. Mary's defense has done a better job of, as we saw there, taking that run game away from Acadia than Acadia has done against St. Mary's.
Sharp gets it away. It bounces at about the 30 where Nash will pick it up. And Nash is pushed down by Derek Smith. And the Huskies will come back on and we'll start from, we'll say, the 37-yard line. As just over 4.5 to go, you see.
So we have a penalty flag down. We'll wait to see the call. It seemed to come late, and it is an objectionable conduct, and this is going to drive Coach Nell crazy because he knows this is crucial right now for the players to keep their cool. And this has been a challenge for them all season, taking stupid penalties. It's just you got to be smart. You've got to keep your mouth shut, and you have to do the job you're supposed to be out there doing and not take these penalties that now set them back. You can believe that Acadia is going to be coming after this ball and ball hawking, and a turnover here could result in a score.
So the Huskies take over at about their 25-yard line. Loney wrapped up right away by Tremaine Thomas, who drops him for a loss of about 4 on the play.
And the reason for that is we saw they lined up 8 players on the line, everybody just shooting that gap. And he was through there, right there. You see everybody hitting that gap, and nobody picks him up because they haven't got enough blockers. And he doesn't get picked up inside.
He's a big guy to miss, big number 90 Tremaine Thomas, who's had a solid year this season for Jeff Cummins' Acadia Axemen. So 2nd and long for the Huskies as Pinella takes a look at his play sheet on his wristband. 3:50 and counting here. Loney right to Pinella's left, and the flag's on the play. Looks like it's going to go against the Huskies.
Well, a time violation certainly would be a possibility here. The team wants to run as much time off the clock. And that's what it is. Early in the game, the referee will give you lots of leeway. Getting to a critical part of the game here where time means a lot to both teams, he will stick closer to the 20 seconds. And I think that's well taken. Nobody's going to have a complaint after that they got more time than they should have. So that stops the clock, which is not a good thing. It's not under 3 minutes, so they don't lose the down. It is still 2nd down.
The Huskies not doing themselves any favors here as Pinella looks up top. He has a man open over the middle. An end-over-end pass intended for O'Neill. I'm not sure if that was tipped at the line, but it didn't look very good sailing through the air. So St. Mary's will be forced to punt it. We'll probably look for the Axemen to try and get some pressure on Danny Lumley.
It would be a great time here. As time is taken out, but it would be a great time to go all out for a punt block.
Blake Nill looking for his 6th straight conference championship here today. His team, a couple of penalties called against it in the last few minutes, but today they've been solid, as has Acadia. It's been a very good game. Acadia scoring first to go up 7-0. They haven't scored since. It was on their first drive in the first half. Lumley standing about his 12. Good kick. Gillen from his 45-yard line. Good pursuit by the Huskies, but Gillen cuts through, and Loney brings him down at the 50-yard line of Acadia. We're going to show you some of the scores from across the nation today as the 4 conferences are in the middle of their finals. And look at that, Laval leading number 1 Montreal 23-6 in the 2nd quarter.
That would be a big upset. as would this one if McMaster was able to hold on. I would consider McMaster beating Laurier and Laval beating Montreal as upsets, although we saw early in the season that Montreal, in winning by 1 point over Laval, had the benefit of a couple of last quarter fumbles inside the 10 by Laval.
Well, if Acadia wants to move on to next week, you'd think they'd have to score right here. They start with decent field position, 1st and 10. Chris Judd rolling right. And open and knocked down is Price. A good hit on the play as he's separated from the ball. Birthright there for the Huskies. 2nd and 10 as we get a look at it on the replay.
And here we see when the handoff's taken, he is getting time. He's got Gillen kept in there to block, and block Fox he did, and gets it away. Price going up, but the hit came by Birthright. There was also, and so that brings it back and makes it 2nd down and 10. And so now it's getting critical on 2nd and 10 for Judd to come up with the play. This may be the 1 or 2 where he needs to run. And the difficulty is American school quarterbacks are taught not to run. They have a smaller field. And so perhaps that's why it's just not in him to take off like Pinella does, for example. He's been taught to stay in that pocket and get it away at all costs.
Well, flags before that ball was even snapped. Judd goes over the middle. Price gets tattooed. Would have enough, more than enough for a 1st down. Kyriakopoulos with the hit.
And it's unfortunate, but that's coming back due to an illegal procedure call against Acadia. A beautiful catch, and it would have been 1st down yardage, and this penalty is going to hurt if they can't get the 1st down yardage, but it's coming back.
So a penalty here hurting the Axemen for sure. Price has been good today. He's been around the ball when Judd has gone to the air. Judd going to the air a lot more in the 2nd half. His team trying to play catch-up.
And with the time running down, we can be sure that this has almost got to be 3-down football. So now it'll be 2nd down and 15.
So Chris Judd, under 3 minutes to go, 2.5. You hear the whistle indicating under 3 minutes. Has a lot of field in front of him. 2nd and 15. Looked like moving on the line defensively for the Huskies. Judd rolling to his right, and he's going to go way downfield, and it's picked off. The Huskies, Andre Knights, coming into this game with a bad angle. Nothing wrong with it on that play, and he may have just put this one away. Knights still on his feet, and Judd the man to take him out of bounds. And the Huskies are ecstatic.
And they're ecstatic for a good reason. Judd had to bide his time, couldn't find the receiver far enough downfield, and then when he went, he let it go, and it hung up in the slight breeze, picked off by St. Mary's. The turnover is a big one. At this late in the game, they could control this for the rest of the time. Here we see as Judd rolls out. He will get the time, but then the pressure comes as he can't find the receiver. When he lets it go, he's just being hit or close to being hit by Fox. Ball hangs up downfield. Great view here from the end zone camera. And there we see stepping in and taking that handoff, Andre Knights. Big turnover.
Kyriakopoulos there as well in the coverage, and the intended receiver Shannon Knoll. So Knights who gets the ball way into Acadia territory, but the big thing is the turnover and the time as the Huskies fans start to chant, hey, goodbye.
And as the time, we get a great shot at the crowd here, a good crowd this afternoon. And as the time winds down, the referees are talking. Jeff Cummings here looking in sidelines, looking for a ruling on something, pleading and asking for an explanation.
Chris Judd limping off after that play, John, favoring, I believe, his left foot. Brady Pimlett is the backup quarterback today. And, of course, Christian White not dressed. So we'll see if Judd is able to come back onto the field. If indeed they get a chance to, you would think that they would. So the Huskies trying to put the finishing cap on their 6th straight conference championship here with 2:11 to go. And Loney up the middle, still on his feet, gets about 8 yards on the carry before he's dropped by Philbrick, who's been very busy today.
And we saw the ball come loose late there because they're ball hawking. They know they've got to get it back right away. And one thing I would say, Dan, after that great shot we saw a little bit earlier from the end zone camera, a good opportunity here for me to thank the crew, the people in the truck, and the people on the cameras doing a fantastic job this season. It's been exciting, and we've been able to provide fans at home with some great shots from the camera crew, some great shots coming up from the truck, and a lot of support from everybody.
And you'll see those names as the credits roll at the end of the game, as Piniella talking it over with Derek Smith. So it'll be 2nd down and about 2 for the Huskies. Not sure what they're discussing right there. And here's a look at some of the 5th-year players, John. There's a pile of them. Those are some of the keys. Of course, Pike, Derek Smith, Matt Sharp. You look at that offensive line. Ellis, Cannon, and Ortman's a rebuilding job for Jeff Cummins to do. Mike Black had a terrific career here with Acadia as well. You don't want to count them out. There's still 2:05 to go. They're down by 10, but a good chance to look at some of the key contributors over the years for Acadia. So it is 2nd and short. Steve Piniella has been solid today, leading this Huskies offense, but the offensive line opening things up for that man, Loney, who bursts it through. Loney all the way down for a touchdown as he puts on the exclamation point. That man is unbelievable. Championship game last year against St. FX, and this year against the Axemen.
He's done it again, and as you said, it puts the asterisk, because what he does well here is not only hold on to the ball, but he just turns it on right here. He turns on the speed, doesn't alter his route greatly, keeps those fast feet moving, and gets into the end zone. A huge play and a fantastic play by Loney. And once again this year, I get to say it, there's no doubt in my mind, he's a player of the game.
301 yards rushing for Loney, 2 touchdowns on 31 carries. And he's running in, a good 2-3 inches of snow, just able to navigate somehow as the Huskies take what you would think is an unsurmountable lead. And Loney right up the middle through a big hole, now 24-7. The Huskies put the finishing cap on this championship game.
And I know, Dan, that you'd said earlier when we had seen the results of the rushers for the season that we found him and Mullins way back in the pack, and that was a surprise. But if you're going to show up, now's the time to show up. And he does that for his team and for himself. And he's put them into the bowl game out west, the Dunsmore Cup, I believe. Churchill Bowl?
Yeah, the Churchill Bowl, that's right. They change things so often on us, John. Dunsmore, and that was an interesting score. Montreal trailing Laval this afternoon in the 2nd quarter. Still a long ways to go there, but boy, this St. Mary's Acadia rivalry, I think, taking a step up this season. Both teams coming into this game with a win apiece against each other. And the Huskies with the home field advantage. Did that make a difference? I'm not sure, but they certainly made the right adjustments, it would appear, in the week that they had off in order to get things running correctly. The O-line, as I mentioned a couple of times, opening up the holes today for the St. Mary's running attack.
And this should prepare them well. Should the weather change? I know it's 10 degrees out west and sunny for their game today, but should it change and go back to what is often the case this time of year, a snowy day, they will be in good shape after getting some practice here today. And if I remember correctly, they went up and played in Ontario in the snow against McMaster a few years ago and did well also.
Davalos lets that go along the turf, and Pavlich, who's been quiet in the 2nd half, will carry it out over the 35-yard line. Goes down under a sea of maroon as some pushing and shoving between a couple of players behind the play.
And with 1:32 now left, and as we wind down, I want to mention again how impressed I was. I had a chance last night being in town to take in the Major Junior Hockey League game between Noranda and the Mooseheads, and got a visit down to the control truck. And it was something to behold, because there is certainly a game within a game going on here today. And we're watching one out in the field, and there's another one going down in our control truck. And again, I pass on my congratulations to those folks on what a fantastic job they do, and I really had my eyes open as to all the teamwork that takes place right there.
So the Axemen take over with 1:32 to go, and Brady Pimlott in a quarterback. I mentioned that Judd was injured. His first chance to take a snap for the Axemen this year. Gillen is the tailback. Tough for Judd to end on an injured note. Pimlott will go through the air. And just floats one out there short for Black, who put on the brakes, but understandably couldn't keep his feet. Mike Black, tough to see him go for this Acadia program. He has really contributed a lot in his 5 years.
Well, all the fifth-year players for Acadia are going to find it difficult, but boy, they sure treated us as fans to a heck of a season where they stepped forward and were able to beat St. Mary's at home and then come into this game with none of us knowing really who was going to dominate. And it wasn't until late in this game, St. Mary's seemed to, in the third quarter, come out of the half and pick up and march the ball down the field. And they seemed to have the offensive power to do that. And we're looking at the results here with a 24-7 score.
Second down, Pimlott with plenty of time over the middle and through the arms of Price. I think we might call pass interference on Sebastian Clovis.
It's coming from way downfield, so whether or not the backs were to the other defenders, but certainly that is the signal that's being given.
See Jeff Cummings telling his guys to get in the huddle, keep things moving.
And that is the call. Pass interference coming from the referee. Also, let's take a chance here to thank Steve Burlington for all his work during the season, passing on to us a lot of information that made it easy for us to be prepared for games. Steve would spend his time during the week, send us packages near the end of the week, also contributed many of the trivia questions we've faced. So good to see Steve back and healthy again. Not necessarily back at work. I think he wants to be retired, but thanks very much, Steve, for all your help. We appreciate it.
So that'll bring up the first down, that pass interference. And it's going to be from the Acadia 50-yard line. That's where they'll scrimmage with 1:19 to go. Pimlott goes to Price, who's been busy today, and gets about 9 after the catch.
Very close. Now, it could happen if they get a quick score, but right now, with the field conditions the way they continue to be, it's difficult.
On our next sports broadcast, next Friday, the Halifax Mooseheads visit the Atlantic Division-leading Moncton Wildcats. Will be on the air at 7 o'clock as we take the Rogers feed from New Brunswick, the Mooseheads and the Wildcats on Eastlink Television.
And one of the things I've noticed this year, a lot of the games, all of the games that we covered, very, very few referees calls that I would argue. Very, very few. They've done a great job. And it's always a good time of year to plug for anybody out there been involved in football, just as a spectator or a player wants to get involved in refereeing, get a hold of your minor league, get involved in the program, and let's get some young officials coming up here to support these people we have right now.
That one to Barangi is... He'll have a 12 on that catch. Feet taken out from under him. And Barangi pretty quiet today. Of course, the conditions this afternoon not really, good for the air game for either quarterback as we take a look at it on the replay.
Well, we see here something a little bit different. Because of the inability to get a good grip on the ball, it's floating out there a little bit. But on a day like today, it tends to be that you get better results, although it's slowing down the pattern a little bit. We saw earlier where Judd put some really good stuff on it, and the difficulty there was that the receivers just couldn't hold on to it. And there we see Jack Loney, and wow, what a day, and what a big day for him, and what a great time for it to happen.
So many big runs this afternoon, and accumulating 300 yards. And Price takes a pop and hangs onto the ball as Kyriakopoulos whacked James Price, and we'll have another first down.
So able to move the ball down the field, getting some first downs. Why? St. Mary's has backed off some. They're willing to give up all this stuff as long as you use the clock.
So Pimlott's look pretty good here, of course. Just nearing the end of the game, but nice for him to get in and get a couple of chances with it. Number 18. James Price has been the go-to guy this afternoon through the air. 3 catches now, or make that 4 catches from 30 yards. For number 19 is Pimlott will run off and speak with the coaching staff.
And as time winds down and I get all my list of thank yous in here, Dan, I don't want to forget you. It's been a fantastic season for me, my second year on the job here, working with you. And Dan, I don't know how you do it. You're a natural. You worked a hockey game last night, as you often do. Then a game on Saturday, a football game. You have the names down, the stats down. You just are great. Thank you very much for a great season.
Well, look, thank you. And to be able to have you up here, we know exactly what's going on in the field before I think the referees do or anything else, and we really appreciate your expertise. And Boy, the football game goes by so fast, or the season. You look at some of the replays we were showing and highlights during this game. It seems like just yesterday we were opening at Acadia, and, what, 18 degrees and sunny, and not exactly that here today. But
and it does. You're involved in it every week, and you're getting prepared for it. And the next thing you know, all the weeks have gone by.
Every week means so much, and the Huskies had that extra week off to prepare for this big game against the Axemen. There were questions coming into it. Could the Huskies pull it out as they connect that pass to Noel, who does a good job to try and take it out of bounds. And Blake Neal, you know that he worked hard during that extra week to get his guys focused. And he looks a little extra damp. He just had the water poured over him, and that's a feeling he's been used to the last number of years. You have to give him credit. He gets the best players, but obviously he's a terrific coach. He is, and he would be the first one to tell you that this season, being very rewarding because of where they are right now, has taken a tremendous toll on him as a coach. He's had to dig down deep and find all of the skills that he has to keep these men working hard towards the goal of getting to where they are almost. One more step, one more game, and they'll be back in the venue. Well, this is the last play, barring a penalty, of the game. Pimlet goes deep, intended for Black, and he's interfered with, so it won't be the last play of the game as Nash hooked up onto his arm and throwing the flag, so another crack at it for the Axemen.
And it's funny how some things work out. At the start of the season, everybody was saying St. Mary's would win, St. Mary's would get back in another venue. And then as the season went on and the things that coaching, Blake Neal and his coaching staff had to deal with, how the other teams progressed at the same time, made for a tremendously exciting season. And I know that as St. Mary's heads out west, I see Saskatchewan or Alberta be one of those two teams. Whichever one will be really, really difficult. But I know for a fact that if their running game, if their offense that Steve Samara was so excited about today can continue to do what they have done today, they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, you don't want to count them out. I mean, some people get down on them a bit this year. They haven't been as successful as in other years, but this is a different season, and anything can happen. As we saw today, they were really able to put together some successful drives in some bad weather here against the Acadia Axemen, who have one more crack at it to try and jam it into the end zone.
And the thing is, if you're going to peak, you want to peak at the best time. Hockey does it often. You got a hot goaltender, you peak in the playoffs, and you're in good shape. Right now, St. Mary's is peaking, then it's the most fantastic time for them to have it happen, and it's right now.
Now there's a good look at some of the Axemen. Gillen and Lavoie as Pimlet talks it over with Jeff Cummins. Acadia really bringing it this year, John. They almost beat Laval at home. They went to Sherbrooke and lost in overtime in a high-scoring game, and did something here that hasn't been done in a long time. They won in week 8 in what was just a terrific ball game. Just coming up a little bit short today against a team that has a lot of experience in big games in St. Mary's.
You're correct, and you'll remember a year ago in a game of Acadia versus Montreal, Acadia didn't complete one forward pass in that game. Unbelievable. Here, 1 year later, they're taking St. Mary's right down to the end, and they've brought out the best in St. Mary's for them to have a chance to win.
Well, the Huskies just want to get this thing over with. The clock is set at 0 for the last few minutes. Pimlet will try and go to the air as he's being chased down by Clovis. He's not going to get there, and that's how it's going to end. The Huskies win again their 6th straight conference championship, 24-7, as they defeat the Acadia Axemen. Blake Neal, he's wet, he's a little bit cold, but you know he's happy. He's standing by with Peter Rutgeser. And Peter, let's go to you now.
Thank you very much, Dan. Coach, talk about this game here. In the first half, in the first quarter, you guys struggled a little bit, and then Al Giacalone really picked you up on offense.
Yeah,
talk about Al's play.
Al came to play. You know, he did a great job. We started off slow on defense, which surprised me a bit, but we were able to come out. I told the guys, you take away the first 5 minutes, I thought we played a great game.
You go out west now. Any preference, Saskatchewan, Alberta?
No, not now. We just got to get ready to play another football game.
Okay, congratulations on the victory.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Okay, so St. Mary's defeats Acadia by a count of 24-7. They move on now to the Mitchell Ball. We'll return with more Atlantic University Sport Football right after this break.
So the Huskies put the wraps on their 6th straight conference championship here today with a 24-7 victory over the Acadia Axemen, John. And maybe just a word about the offensive line today by for the Huskies.
I was really impressed with the fact that they would get on their people, block them out, get the opening that Jack Loney would need, and then his short-footedness just took him downfield, and he was just excellent today.
He was. We're going to show you now the Eastlink play of the half and then the Eastlink play of the game. As you might imagine, it's going to involve the running game for the St. Mary's Huskies. Look at this play by Mullings, and when he gets wound up, he is tough to stop.
And again, the straight ahead, short-footedness, holding onto the ball, wrapping it up. Both teams did a great job, but St. Mary's did a little bit better.
And that run really setting up what turns out to be what we're going to call the Eastlink play of the game. Wasn't the flashiest run this afternoon by Al Giacalone, but certainly seemed to put things out of reach. It put the Huskies up by a count of 17-7. And just look at the push he got from the offensive line there. Guys like Cowan and Ince and McHugh were terrific today.
He just stays in behind and rides that wave, as we said earlier, not trying to break out, just knowing where it's going to be good. And as you said, they're getting a great push out of that offensive line.
So those are your highlights, and that will lead us into the final stats for this afternoon. Total yards, St. Mary's 460 to 243 for the Acadia Axemen. And basically that was the story. Acadia started off with a bang, but really weren't able to score after that. So the Huskies win at 24-7. John, I want to thank you again. Terrific job this year. It went by in a heartbeat, but we'll be back next season. We are really glad to have Peter Rutgazer along board this year as well. And he has a special guest right now. Peter?
Thank you very much, Dan. Al Giacalone wants to celebrate it a little bit here. Al, when you saw the weather today, did you have it in your mind coming to the stadium that, hey, I'm going to get a lot of work this afternoon?
Yeah, I knew. When I heard the weather forecast beginning of the week, I knew it was going to be a big running day, so I made sure I was mentally prepared, and it came out and just chugged along, man. It was great.
Talk about the play of your offensive line today. They were so fantastic for you.
Our offensive line was great, man. You see the push they got off the ball? They were great. I just followed them, made a few cuts, and just happened. It was great, man. They did a great job.
Did you feel that you were picking up the momentum late in that first half? I mean, because I know they scored the early touchdown and you guys kind of sagged. Did you get it back late in the half?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think late in the half, I think we had a 6-minute drive. We just controlled the ball and kept pounding away at them and got the victory. So it was great.
Congratulations on the win, and fantastic game for you here today.
Thank you very much.
Al Giacalone, who had a great game here for the St. Mary's Huskies. So let me just remind you, if you have any thoughts on our broadcast here today, you can phone our viewer response line. The number is 1-888-354-8439. And a reminder, our next telecast, it's a Rogers broadcast right here on Eastlink. Quebec Major Junior Hockey action as the Moncton Wildcats play host to the Halifax Mooseheads. You can see that game next Friday night at 7 p.m. A great game this afternoon. It's St. Mary's defeating Acadia by a count of 24-7. They move on to the Mitchell Bowl. On behalf of Dan and John and the crew that did a fantastic job this season, I'm Peter Rutgazer saying good night from Halifax.
Telephone services for this broadcast have been provided by Eastlink. It's that easy.